Hey guys, welcome to the channel. As you see in the thumbnail, what if Luffy ate Paw no fruit and harem by using fruit power? Before I start, please do support for more awesome content, and subscribe my channel and like this video. Go support and follow the JazzyJ09 for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story. Link in the description. Where was he? He thought as he sat up and looked around. He saw his signature straw hat on a table next to where he laid. He sat up slowly, seeing if he could spot his crew, or at the very least the owner of the house he was currently in. As he fully sat up, that's when the headache hit, forcing him to lean his back against the wall. "Oh. What the hell?" he seethed out between his clenched teeth. After about 5 minutes, the pain had become tolerable enough to move around. He stood to his full height of 6 feet. Looking down, he saw that he was only in his plain black karate pants, and not noticing any immediate injuries. He grabbed his straw hat and put it on. "Now where am I? Where is my crew? Wait, the last thing I remember was jumping off that island before it dashed." Before he finished his thought, he heard someone shout his name. "Luffy." He looked up to see Zoro, Brook, Chopper, and Usopp walking through the entrance of the house. "Oi, how long have I been out?" "You have been in and out for about 5 days, Luffy-san," said Brook. Luffy raised an eyebrow at the talking skeleton before he remembered how eager he was to get Brook to join. "Well, that sucks. Since you're here, Brook, I'm guessing that all the stolen shadows were returned to their rightful owners?" Brook nodded. "Well, that's great." With that, he smiled and stretched his muscles, noticing they were somewhat sore. "So guys, where are we?" "We are on Bora Island 1. It is a town full of merchants or something like that," said Zoro, not really caring. Luffy waved his hand for them to continue. "Right now we are in Rose's house. She was kind enough to allow us to stay here until you got better," said Usopp. "Why didn't you guys just leave me on the ship? And where are Frankie, Nami, Robin, and Sanji?" asked Luffy as they had all moved to a table and sat down. "Well, Frankie is with the ship, keeping it ready for when we leave. As for Nami and Robin, they are picking up supplies with Sanji there to make sure nothing happens," explained Chopper, with Luffy nodding. As soon as Chopper had finished, the front door opened, and in walked a woman with dark red hair, average body, and a kind face. "Oh hey Rose," said Chopper. "Hello everyone," said Rose, and then saw Luffy. "I trust you are feeling better," she said with a smile. Luffy nodded. "I don't mean to sound ungrateful, but why did you offer us your home?" Rose smiled. "Your friends are pretty convincing, and from what I've gathered from being around you all are nice people." "For the most part," thought Luffy as he nodded. "Well, Rose, as soon as the others get back from shopping, we will be out of your hair. It was nice to meet you guys. I trust you remember how to get back to the harbor, correct?" Chopper and Brook nodded. "Well then, I bid you safe travels, as I must be off to work, bye." With that, Rose left the Straw Hats alone. "When will the others be back? I want to get out of here as soon as possible," stated Luffy. "They left about 2 hours ago, so they should be back soon," said Brook. Luffy nodded while looking at the paw print on his hands. The next 20 minutes were filled with explanations about what had happened after the fight with Gecko Moria. Luffy was interested with who Lola's mom is, but apparently she didn't give a name. Any further conversation would have to wait as the 3 other members walked in. "Luff, you're up. Are you okay?" asked Nami and Robin, while Sanji's body shook with all the weight of the supplies on his back. "Yes, I'm okay. Let's get going, shall we?" said Luffy as they all headed out of the house. Sanji meanwhile glared daggers at Luffy for having to walk back down the cliff side. As they got out the house, Luffy immediately figured out how the island got its name. They were standing on top of a cliff that encircled the town at the base of it. He could make out 4 different entrances and exits for ships to get through. He followed his crew as they walked down a zigzag trail carved into the mountainside. After walking for about 20 minutes, the Straw Hats reached the town. They moved through the town trying to go unnoticed, but news of Luffy's defeat of Moria must have surely reached this island by now. Sure enough, the crew began to notice people began to whisper to one another while others just stared at them, some in awe, others in fear. "How much farther to the B2?" questioned Luffy. "It should be B2 streets down, then a left, and then it's a straight shot," said Nami as they all picked up the pace. They took off the way Nami had told them, however. As they rounded the corner, they saw 50 Marines waiting for them towards the end of the street. "Straw Hat Luffy, I am Captain Sashi and I am here to bring anything else that the man was going to say was stopped as him and his crew were blasted away by Luffy's pressure slap. We were only meant to hold you off until reinforcements arrived. We were just on patrol when we happened to stop here. Thought the Marines as they were sent flying. I don't care who you are and I'm in a rush. The crew didn't slow down at all as they ran to harbor, and saw the bee waiting for them with Frankie coming out onto the deck. You guys got here right on time. We are ready to sail, said Frankie as everyone got aboard and the ship headed off towards the cave that would lead them back out to sea. As they came out of the cave they saw the open sea looking forward to more adventure on their journey. Continued to show. Last time. Straw Hat Luffy, I am Captain Sashi and I am here to bring anything else that the man was going to say was stopped as him and his crew were blasted away by Luffy's pressure slap. We were only meant to hold you off until reinforcements arrived. We were just on patrol when we happened to stop here. Thought the Marines as they were sent flying. I don't care who you are and I am in a rush. The crew didn't slow down as they ran to the harbor, and saw the bee waiting for them with Frankie coming out onto the deck. You guys got here right on time. We are ready to set sail, said Frankie as everyone got aboard the ship and the ship headed off towards the cave that would lead them back out to sea. As they came out of the cave they saw the open sea looking forward to more adventure on their journey. Present. A few days after the Straw Hats had left the Bora Island, news crews had just come by and dropped off the day's paper. One of these papers happened to reach Rose. As she was looking through it, what she thought was a flyer fell out. However, when she picked it up, she saw it was a wanted poster. To be more specific, it was Luffy's wanted poster. She gasped as she took in the Luffy. He was standing in the middle of some island she couldn't make out, holding a compressed Ursus shock one. She immediately started flipping through the newspaper to read what had been the reason for such a bounty. Oh my! I wonder if you are really as bad as they say you are, she said to herself as she began reading the article. You all seemed like fun-loving people, so I will believe that, she thought with a smile after reading the article, but said an audible oh my as she saw more posters fall out. All Rose could do was smile and shake her head as she continued on her way. Same time with the Straw Hats. The Straw Hats had also just received a newspaper from a news coup. All the Straw Hats were gathered around each other on deck. Each of them was holding a poster with their own picture on it. All of them were having different reactions. Wanted dead or alive. Chopper. 10 million belly. Chopper was just standing there looking like he had seen a ghost. 10-10-10-000-000. Why? He shouted as he started running around the ship with fake tears coming out his eyes. Meanwhile, Nami wasn't faring much better. She was shaking and sweating while staring wide-eyed at her new bounty. Wanted dead or alive. Nami the cat burglar. 30 million belly. Why? Now I'm going to be pursued as well, shouted the now crying Nami. Usopp, who had been drinking some tea, spit it out when he saw his poster. Wanted dead or alive. Usopp Sogeking. 50 million. Usopp just stood there sputtering, unable to get a single word out. Eventually, after about 10 seconds, the poor man passed out due to shock. Wanted dead or alive. Dead Bones Brook. 55 million. I would cry but I have no eyes, yo-ho-ho-ho, shouted Brook with a smile. Frankie meanwhile just lifted his shades and whistled. Wanted dead or alive. Cyborg Frankie. 66 million belly. Haha, look how super I am, shouted Frankie as he struck a pose. Wanted dead or alive. Devil Child Nico Robin. 100 million belly. Robin didn't say or do anything other than just smiling a little. Poor Sanji was in tears when he saw her bounty. However, he quickly jumped up and shouted, I will protect you, Robin Chuan. Wanted dead or alive. Black Leg Sanji. 110 million belly. Nami Swan, Robin-chan. Look at how amazing I am, shouted Sanji as his legs started to jiggle. Wanted dead or alive. Pirate Hunter Roronoa Zoro. 180 million belly. Zoro had a huge grin on his face. I'm coming for you, my hawk. Wanted dead or alive. Straw Hat Monkey D. Luffy. 400 million belly. Shishishi, this just keeps getting better and better, said a smiling Luffy. Meanwhile, the rest of the crew just looked at him with mouths unopened. That's crazy to have that high of a bounty. There are going to be so many people after us, shouted Nami. Well, what can I say, I'm awesome, said Luffy. By the way, what does the paper say about us? Nami opened the paper to the article and read the following. There is no longer any doubt that the rookie pirate crew known as the Straw Hats played a part in the destruction of Enies Lobby. To make matters worse, they managed to not only escape, but they also managed to defeat Cypher Pole 9. Now, if that was not bad enough, the Straw Hats recently encountered Shichibukai Gecko Moria. However, if you thought Gecko Moria would be the victor, you would be wrong. Not only did Straw Hat Luffy defeat him, he also ended up destroying his island with one single attack. This has been confirmed by many people who claim to have been trapped on the island of Thriller Bark. To make matters worse, it is also said that Straw Hat Luffy managed to defeat Mariah without sustaining any serious injuries. This we cannot confirm as of yet. However, if it is true, this does not bode well for the Marines. On a positive note, Gecko Moria was rescued and has been treated for his injuries. Is there no one that can stop this monstrous crew? Only time will tell. They make us sound like the bad guys, shouted the now conscious Usopp. Well, what do you expect? We are pirates after all, said Luffy. As much as the others wanted to argue, all they could do was nod in agreement as they went back to what they were doing before. Holy Land, Mariajoa. We find Fleet Admiral Sengoku and Vice Admiral Garp having a fun conversation. You've got to be kidding me. How in the hell did they manage to get past Gecko Mariah? Damn it, I'm the one who has to report this to the higher-ups, shouted the irritated Sengoku. Wahahoho. Just what I expect from my grandson, shouted Garp, which furthered Sengoku's irritation. Garp, be quiet. I gave that pathetic man a special government order to eliminate the whole crew, yet he couldn't even bring back Straw Hat Luffy's head? This is a disgrace. Hee hee. Don't worry about that, Sengoku. Luffy isn't the kind of guy who would go around bragging about defeating Moria anyway. However, he became quiet as Sengoku threw him a newspaper. It is already too late to worry about word of Straw Hat Luffy's victory over Moria getting out. Damn it. Bwahahahaha. Well, at least you don't have to worry about trying to cover it up, shouted Garp. The point is, now we look weak because not only has your grandson defeated Crocodile, but now Moria. Because Moria failed to take it seriously, this game of cat and mouse will have no end. If they continue to follow the log, they will draw ever closer to the Navy HQ. Garp just stared at him with a grim expression before pulling out a bag of tea and smiling. Oh yeah, by the way, I brought the new tea. Get out the crackers. Garp, will you shut up already? Things are changing, that's for sure, said Sengoku as he sat down. We find the Straw Hats sailing towards their next stop on their journey, Fishman Island, or so they think. Usopp, Chopper, and Brook are currently passing the time by fishing, while Luffy was lying on the grass. Zoro was being Zoro and sleeping under a tree. Meanwhile, Frankie, Nami, Robin, and Sanji were sitting around drinking tea. What exactly is going on? Asked Chopper. This is no good, exclaimed Usopp. Indeed, confirmed Brook. I can't catch anything. This is strange, said Chopper. We've hit a rough patch, stated Usopp. Ah, this is so boring. Well, let us be patient, said Brook. Nami, are we gonna reach Fishman Island soon? Asked Luffy in a bored tone while still lying on his back with his hands behind his head. I don't have an exact time frame, but we are definitely getting closer, said Nami before she took a sip of tea from her cup. I can't wait, thought Luffy. Fish men mermaids, said a hard-eyed Sanji as his legs became wavy like noodles. Those beautiful mermaids. We're going to meet the mermaids I've always wanted to see. Sanji, after you're done having your fantasy, perhaps you could make us some food, said Luffy. However, before Sanji could respond, Usopp spotted a huge shadow near the surface of the water. He got a better look at it by using his goggles. Awesome! It's a fish school! See? Good things happen to those who wait, said a happy Brook. Now we'll get something. Wow, they're heading straight towards us, shouted Chopper with a smile on his face. However, his smile faded as Nami came to the rail with an interesting look on her face. What's wrong? Something feels off here, and sure enough the school of fish just swam on by. While Zoro had awakened from his nap to look up and see storm clouds. Aren't those? This caused Luffy to open an eye to see. Could it be? Nami asked herself. What's up with that overt "this is bad" Captain face? Asked Usopp. As if on cue, the ocean started to turn violent. Right before their eyes, they saw whirlpools being formed. At this point, Luffy arose to see what was going on, but didn't do anything as he had faith in his navigator. Serpent currents. Everyone, be careful. As if the ocean could hear her, dozens of water spouts spouted up towards the sky. This caused Usopp to scream in panic. It's almost as if they are alive, stated Zoro. This is really bad, all right, shouted Frankie. Well, isn't this interesting? Said Luffy with an amused look on his face. Sanji, take the wheel, shouted Nami. Leave it to me, Nami Swan, said Sanji as he tried to turn the wheel, keyword being tried. It won't move. He needed to do something as one of the water spouts seemed to come alive and came at them. However, just as it was about to hit, Zoro leapt into the air and slashed through it, effectively destroying it. Meanwhile, Chopper and Usopp were running around screaming in panic. Just as another one was about to hit the ship, Luffy seemed to glide in the air and barely placed his palm on it, sending it in a completely different direction. Hey, what are you doing? Steer the ship, shouted Zoro. Shut up. With all these waves, it's impossible to navigate properly, shouted Sanji as he struggled with the steering wheel. Again, another spout was headed for the ship, when Luffy again jumped into the air, doing the same to it as he did the previous one. We really need to get out of here, shouted Brook as he jumped from the back of the ship, slashing another spout. I must say, I have heard the term playful snakes before, but this is crazy. Although it could apply here, yo-ho-ho-ho. Hey you! Is this really the right time for you to be impressed? Shouted a scared Usopp. We need to get out of here. We can't just keep fending them off, exclaimed Zoro as he cut through another spout. Meanwhile, Robin was using her devil fruit to create a lasso and break through the spout. By this point, Chopper and Usopp were hugging the mast as if it were a part of them. How long is this storm gonna continue? How far does it go? Should we try to escape with the coup de burst? Asked Frankie as he fired off a missile into a spout. It won't work, said Nami looking through binoculars. I can't see an end to the currents. Even if we used the coup de burst, we wouldn't be able to escape. Everyone's face held a look of shock, everyone but their captain, that is. Nami, I'm gonna clear a path for us. I just need you to point out the best way, said Luffy as he walked to the head of the ship. He planted his feet and waited for Nami's direction. In the distance, they could all see the red line. Nami got her bearings and told Luffy the way. Luffy nodded and drew back his arms, and released multiple pressure cannons. Suppry Pad Ho 2. The blasts effectively cleared a path through the storm. Alright, we're clear. Let's go, everybody. Everyone, pull in the sails, shouted Nami as Sanji and Usopp brought the sails in while Frankie took hold of the wheel. I'm sure the coup de burst will work now, exclaimed a happy Frankie. With that, Frankie hit the burst and the bee took off, airborne. As the bee landed, there was a sigh of relief from the crew. We're saved, said a happy Chopper. Man, that was dangerous, yo-ho-ho-ho. Luffy looked out from the bear's head at the red line with a smile on his face. We're here, we finally made it this far. Chopper was looking up with a gasp. I can't see the top. It's huge. So, this is the red line? It feels kind of nostalgic, said Nami as Sanji nodded in agreement. I wonder if we've matured since our start? Asked Zoro. I kind of feel like crying. A lot of stuff has happened, huh? Said a crying Usopp. Anyway, we are halfway there now. The Twin Capes on the other side of the world, where we met Laboon, is connected to this spot. It is great that we have made it this far, stated Luffy with a look of nostalgia. When we've crossed the other half of the world, and see this wall again, at that time I will be the Pirate King. But we've got to be careful now. This place is close to the Holy Land of the World Government and the Navy HQ, Mariajoa, stated Nami with concern. Having cleared the storm, they dropped anchor. Robin, Brook, Ned, Luffy took the mini-submarine to look for a way past the towering structure of the Red Line. How is it, Robin, Brook, Luffy? Asked Nami on the Den Den Mushi. No use. It's completely black, came Robin's response. The three continued to look for a way to pass through, but unfortunately they had no luck. Nami, we are coming back. There is no way for us to. Look, it's a monster, interrupted Brooke. It's gonna eat us, ah. Robin, get us to the surface, said Luffy, and after a few quick maneuvers, they managed to loose the monster and arrived back at the surface. After dispersing from the sub, Luffy voiced his concern. It's no use. We can't see anything on the bottom of the sea at all. Is Fishman Island really there? The log pose is certainly pointing straight down, but this is no good. I should have gotten more info from Lola and the others, said Nami as she gazed at the log. Just then the monster that had been chasing the sub burst through the surface. The monster looked like a rabid rabbit crossed with a fish. It launched out of the water and came at the ship. I thought we lost you earlier. No matter. Padho 3. With that, Luffy's pressure cannon landed directly in the monster's gut, effectively knocking it out. Somehow, he didn't seem all that huge, said Usopp. Because we dealt with oars. Seems like we're fine, agreed Chopper. That's when Sanji noticed something came out of the monster's mouth. What was that? Everyone looked up to see two things falling from the sky, and they were screaming. Is that a person? No, is it a fish? No way. It's said Sanji as the larger of the two beings crashed into him, while the other landed on deck, which turned out to be a starfish wearing a hat. We're here. The figure now on Sanji turned out to be a mermaid. That was incredible, she exclaimed. Don't act impressed. A little longer in there, and we would have been goners. How could you not run away from a monster like that? Said the starfish as he lectured the mermaid. Well, I didn't notice it. How could you possibly not notice something as huge as that? Who are you guys? Came Luffy's voice. This made the two look around and take in their surroundings. Only then did the poor girl realize she was on top of Sanji. I crushed a human. I'm so sorry. Are you okay? Oh, don't worry about it, said Sanji with hearts in his eyes as he stood up and went over to the rest of the crew. Oh, thank goodness. My name is Camie, and this here is Pappag. I thought I was going to be digested. Thank you for saving us. I keep getting swallowed by monsters. This was probably the 20th time. You'd get eaten too much, declared Usopp. I have to repay you somehow. Oh, I know. Would you like some takoyaki? Sure, food is always welcomed amongst us, said Luffy as he and the rest of the crew smiled. Mermaid. Mermaid. Mermaids, the dream of all mankind. Mermaids, the jewels of the ocean. Yes, I've finally gotten to meet one of them. She's so cute. This is the first time I've ever met one. Camie, was it? Said Sanji as he noodled his body all over the deck, happy that he fulfilled one of his lifetime goals of meeting a mermaid. It's not the first time. You met old Lady Kokoro, didn't you? Asked Usopp, effectively putting an end to Sanji's moment of happiness. Sanji stumbled and fell to his knees. Thriller bark? No, that wasn't scary. Not scary at all. The scariest thing we've encountered so far was… that's right, Sanji. Let's just pretend that never happened. This is the first mermaid we've ever met, said Usopp as he quickly tried to correct the mistake that he realized he made. You guys are so rude, declared Nami. Geez, when it comes to these guys' expectations of mermaids. But she seems like a cute mermaid, doesn't she? Questioned a smiling Robin. Meanwhile, Brook made his way to the young mermaid. This is my first encounter with a mermaid too. Excuse me, would you please lend me some money? Only to be kicked away by Snodgy. Why would she? A skeleton. See? How are you gonna make it up if you scare her? Get lost, shouted Sanji. However, Pappag decided now was the time to speak up. Camie? Camie? This is just weird, aren't you missing someone? Who's the one left out of this fun group? Answer me, said the mopping starfish. So why are you with Camie? Asked Frankie. That's easy. I'm her pet. Not only is he my pet, he is very popular on Fishman Island, Camie said while pointing to her shirt. So, this t-shirt is of the criminal brand, and it's really popular on Fishman Island these days. Pappag designed it. I want to become a designer one day, too. You'll become one. You'll definitely make it, Camie, shouted Sanji as he offered his encouragement. Thank you, Sanji. So, how can a starfish talk? Asked a curious Usopp. I'm glad you asked. Back when I was a kid, I always thought I was a human. By the time I found out that I was actually a starfish, I was already speaking the human language. Does it really work like that? The world works in strange and frightening ways. That's just how the world is. Anyway, as Camie has already mentioned, I am Pappag the Starfish, up-and-coming designer. Thank you again for saving us. Nami saw her opportunity to get some crucial information from the two. But this is a relief. We were having trouble figuring out what to do. I want to ask you something. Before you ask us, we would really like to repay you with the takoyaki. But I've got to meet up with Hachi somewhere, said Camie, which caused Luffy to raise a brow in interest. He didn't get the chance to ask a question as Camie had already pulled out a Den Den Mushi 4 from her bag, which had rung twice before being picked up. Hello, Hachi? This is Camie. Sorry, I got kinda lost. Where are you right now? However, the voice on the other end did not belong to Hachi. Oh, that voice must be Camie, right? Wahaha. Do you know who you're talking to? This ain't Hachi, you know. This is Makuro. From the simple-minded Makuro crew. Wait, I shouldn't say that myself. Seems like whoever he is, he's an IDOT. Still, this could mean trouble, said Robin as the whole crew was listening to the conversation with a collective interest. Why do you people have Hachi's Den Den Mushi? Wahaha. 'Cause we beat up that Hachi. Isn't it obvious? Mahahaha. Liar. There is no way Hachi would lose to you guys. Yeah, you have a point. Usually, we'd be no match for him, but this time, we had the Flying Fish Riders on our side. Wahahaha. The Flying Fish Riders? Questioned the worried Pappag. Camie, you're still alright? Thank goodness. This was a different voice on the other end now. Hachi. Did they really beat you? I let my guard down. Don't come here. I'll take out these guys and come straight back. It'll be fine, said the now identified Hachi. However, Makuro took back the Den Den Mushi. You know, Camie, we're just about to sell this guy. Octopus fishmen are pretty rare, so he should fetch us quite the price. Feel free to come and save him. We're at the Sabaody Archipelago, in the waters 5 kilometers east of Grove 44. This is where the Flying Fish Riders base is. No! Camie, don't come here. Shut up, you damn octopus. See you soon, Camie. Wahahaha. Luffy was almost positive as to who this Hachi was now after hearing that bit about him being an octopus fishman. I hope Nami will be alright, he thought as he gazed over to her, as she tried to comfort Camie. But alas, Nami is a smart woman after all. Wait, the voice of that Hachi guy we just heard on the Den Den Mushi. It seemed kinda familiar, voiced Nami, which caused Luffy to look at her with concern. It's just my imagination, right? There's no way. Luffy breathed a little sigh, hoping that he too was wrong about Hachi. Sorry, Luffy. Can we do takoyaki later? I've got to go save my friend. Wait, Camie. We shouldn't be meddling here, but if you want to save your friend, then we'll help you, declared Luffy as everyone else nodded in agreement. And in exchange, how about you help us get to Fishman Island? Said Nami, seizing the moment. Really, Luffy? Of course, Camie. But who exactly is this Hachi to you? He runs the takoyaki store I work at. Our takoyaki is the best in the world. Luffy nodded at this answer. They say it's okay. So, do you know where they are? Asked Nami. Camie pulled out a map from her bag. Grove 44 is an island at the very eastern edge of the archipelago. 5 kilometers west from there. I guess the Flying Fish Riders base would be about here, said Pappag as he pointed out the location on the map. Seeing as we are not that far, if we head straight for the Sabaody archipelago from here, we should pass it on the way. So, let's head west. Afterwards we can ask the fish, and figure it out. Yeah, that's right. Let's hurry and go, said Camie in agreement as she went over to the rail and shouted. A few seconds later a school of fish popped their heads out of the water. We want you to lead the way. About 5 seconds later Camie seemed to have had a conversation with the fish. They say they're afraid of the flying fish, so they won't take us all the way there. But they'll show us where to go. Incredible. You can talk to fish? I had no idea mermaids could do that, expressed an impressed Nami. But how do we follow the fish in the sea anyway? Pappag just laughed. Just take a look. Sure enough, the fish were swimming at the top of the surface, creating a trail as they swam. They can do this? I don't believe it. The fish are drawing an arrow on the sea, said a fascinated Usopp. Fantastic. We just have to follow this, right? Said Nami. Alright then, I'll take the helm, shouted Usopp as the crew pulled in the anchor. Turn it around to 4 o'clock, said Robin as she helped guide Usopp to the right path. After sailing for a bit, Zoro made his presence known. After all, he had been doing one of his famous grueling workouts. Are we already setting off? Does it look like we can make it to Fishman Island? Not quite yet. We are taking Camie here on a short detour to save her friend, said Luffy while Zoro took in the fact that this was the first mermaid he'd ever seen. But I'm worried. Hachi sounded like he had trouble talking. I'm sure they've done something awful to him. Well, he's tough, so it should be alright, reassured Pappag. Anyway, you guys were pretty quick to offer your help, but are you sure you can handle this? The crew just looked at each other and laughed a little. Yeah, we can handle these guys, stated Zoro. I should warn you, there's not just one gang of kidnappers around here. There are plenty of these guys on the Sabaody Archipelago. Human trading is big business around here. Selling human lives? That's horrible, said Sanji as he lit a cigarette. And seeing how mermaids are particularly valuable, the Makuro crew, a gang of 3 fish men, have been after Camie for a while now. Hachi from the takoyaki shop probably thought we had been kidnapped by the Makuro crew and went after them since we'd been missing for a while, after being eaten by that monster, exclaimed Pappag. That's probably it. Hachi is a kind, straightforward person, after all. It's my fault, said Camie with a sad tone. Hearing about this octopus named Hachi, I can't help but think of Rat's stupid fishman, stated Zoro, and just like that, Luffy knew things had taken a turn for the worse. After all, they had promised to help Camie. If it's really him, then we're not gonna help. Well, there's no way, stated Sanji, causing Luffy to sigh in defeat. Usually, Hachi could beat those guys easily, but who'd have thought the flying fish riders would help them? Exclaimed Pappag. Who are they? Questioned Frankie. Another kidnapping gang who started causing a lot of trouble around these parts recently. They say that if they target you, you're doomed. Their boss, Duval, is a guy with an iron mask. Nobody knows what he really looks like. It seems like they're looking for someone. They check every single ship that passes through this area. What an annoying guy, declared Frankie. Well, anyway, there's no need for you to worry, Camie. We will definitely save your friend, stated Luffy. Thank you all, again. With that, they continued on their way with Brook playing Bink Sake to lighten the mood. Things were going pretty good, until the fish dispersed. Huh? Is that? We're in trouble, shouted Usopp. Camie was also alerted to the situation, thanks to the fish. They said, we're sorry, but we can't take you any further. They're here, the flying fish riders, shouted Pappag. Sure enough, 3 flying fish came zooming in from the air over the bee. The fish are flying, shouted Usopp. Damn, they're gonna attack us, stated Frankie as he saw them getting ready to make another pass. So the flying fish really can fly? Asked Chopper. Flying fish riders. Did you see that? Asked one of the gang members. I saw it. No doubt, that's the Straw Hat Pirates. Contact him right now, shouted another. Roger, said the third. We only came here to find a single mermaid, but this must be our lucky day. Master Duval is gonna be overjoyed. With that, they moved in for their attack. They dove from above the ship while dropping a few bombs before pulling up. The bee. Here they come, shouted Sanji. Bombs. I got them, shouted Zoro as his slash destroyed them before they could damage the ship. Be careful. Once the flying fish jump out of the water, they can stay in the air for 5 minutes, informed Camie. Flying fish riders. There's no mistaking it, Master Duval. It's them. Sure what? What did you say? Shouted one into a den mushy. Returner. He told us to pull back. What? Don't be ridiculous. It's Master Duval's orders. Fine, but I don't get this. With that, the group took off back towards their base of operations. The bee. What the? I know they aren't just leaving, shouted Frankie. It would appear so. Don't worry, we will see them again soon, stated Luffy with a look of irritation. Last time. Flying fish riders. There's no doubt about it, Master Duval. It's them. Sure what? What did you say? Shouted one into a den mushy. Return. He told us to pull back. What? Don't be ridiculous. It's Master Duval's orders. Fine, but I don't get this. With that, the group took off back towards their base of operations. The bee. What the? I know they aren't just leaving, shouted Frankie. It would appear so. Don't worry, we will see them again soon, stated Luffy with a look of irritation. Present. The bee. So the flying fish really just left? Questioned Chopper. Even though they were really on the attack back there, it seemed like they received some kind of message. Maybe they were ordered to retreat. Although I wouldn't know why, stated a curious Robin. Anyway, the place we're headed now is their base, right? Who'd have guessed that they'd come at us from the sky? Asked Sanji as he took a drag from his cigarette. How about getting the cannons out on the deck? I'll shoot them all down, exclaimed an ecstatic Usopp with stars in his eyes. Oh, good idea, said Frankie. However, while the Straw Hats were discussing among themselves, Camie and Pappag were leaning against the railing with sad faces. I wonder if Hachi is alright, whispered Camie. You know, Macro is really after you. You've got to be careful too, said Pappag. Sigh, I guess you're right. Don't look so sad. We will most definitely rescue Hachi and keep you safe, said a smiling Luffy who had overheard the two talking. This seemed to have a positive effect if the slight smiles on their faces were anything to go by. Their smiles only grew bigger when the rest of the crew agreed. Flying Fish Riders HQ. The three fighters that had been attacking the Straw Hats had just made it back. Duval-sama. The three of them have returned, shouted a member as the three got off their fish and began walking towards a rather large figure sitting out on a balcony. Duval-sama, why'd you order us to pull back? I'd like to know that too. You could have just left the capture of the mermaid and the pirates to us. You idiots! The large figure said in an echoed voice due to the masked helmet he was wearing. He pulled out a harpoon gun and fired at the members' feet, effectively scaring the shit out of them. Do you guys have any idea how long I've been anticipating the arrival of those pirates? Whenever I think of that man, this huge, great scar on my back starts throbbing like hell, he said with his voice laced with rage. Oh shit! The head's mad. Every single day I've cursed that man's name, every single day. Head Duval, please calm down. I'm gonna kill that guy right here, today. Got it? That's my lifelong, immortal wish. Do you understand? Yes. That guy can't be allowed to live. And that's why you gotta make sure to do this properly. That's how we'll get him. You punks just follow my orders, exactly. Yes, head. Duval looked out to a cage hanging above the water in the middle of the base, holding what turned out to be the same Hachi from Arlong's crew. He was currently covered from almost shoulder to ankles. He had been listening to the conversation and heard everything. Hey, you big guy. Are you saying that Camie has been captured by the Straw Hat Pirates? Asked Hachi. This is bad of all the people to run into, he thought. Are they coming here as well? Yeah, they're heading here right now. But ain't it your mermaid friend who's turned to the pirates for help? I dunno the details, but it doesn't seem like she's been caught. Well, no matter who she brings with her, as long as we're here, we'll just catch them all and sell them to the human shop. Ha 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 ha. Hachi grinned slightly, as if they could do that. Those guys are terrifyingly strong. However, his grin turned into a frown when another thought crossed his mind. This is a problem. I wonder if Nami's there too. I wonder if she's still mad at me. Well, of course she would be. I did horrible things to her when I was with Arlong, and all if I don't hurry up and escape before those guys get here, they'll definitely beat me up, too. I'm in trouble. However, everything stopped as a lookout spotted the bee approaching. That's Duval-sama. The Straw Hats are here, So, they're finally here? At this point, an ugly yellow fishman named Macro appeared next to Duval. Say, Macro, started Hachi. Huh? What is it? I'll give you lots of takoyaki, so could please let me go. Yeah, right. Dumbass. What kind of glutton do you take me for? It's about time for you to pay the piper, and all. Prepare yourself. Places, everyone, shouted Duval as everyone dispersed. The bee. Oh, I see something. It must be the base, shouted Chopper. All right, everyone, let's do this, said Luffy. Oh, but everyone, please be careful. The Macro crew alone have captured me about 30 times, said Camie. Well, I guess we'll just have to make sure that there aren't any more times, thought Luffy. At this point, the bee had made it into the Flying Fish Rider's base. Seems like we've entered their territory, huh? Asked Frankie. It's okay. There is nothing to fear now that we are here, said a shaking Usopp. It seems like someone built a village on top of the water, announced Frankie. But why would they want to set up their base here? Asked an intrigued Zoro. Who knows, said Sanji. Anyway, it sure is quiet here, said Chopper in his humanish form. As they made their way closer and closer to the base, they became silent when they noticed the form of Hachi. So it is who I thought it was, said multiple members of the crew. Oh damn! It really is the Straw Hats. It doesn't matter our personal feelings right now. We promised Camie that we would help save her friend, and that's exactly what we are going to do. Got it, said Luffy, sensing the uneasiness. Everyone, despite their feelings, just nodded in agreement. Oh, it's Hachi, shouted a relieved Camie. This is great, Camie. There aren't even any enemies around. They must all be off having a snack, said Pappag. Seems like it. Are you guys even serious? Anyone could tell this is a trap, shouted Usopp. Everyone is obviously hiding in there, waiting to ambush us, said Robin. This completely baffled Camie and Pappag. What brilliant deduction! I never would have considered that. That's why you keep getting caught, shouted Frankie. I'm here. Camie, I'm okay, so you don't have to worry. Well, good. I'm so relieved we found you, shouted Camie, unaware of the obvious tension in the air. Hello, Straw Hats. It sure has been a while, said a very nervous Hachi. We knew it was you, Hachi. So you are the takoyaki seller, huh? Yeah, ever since Arlong and the others got captured by the Navy, I came out here and have been living my dream of running a takoyaki shop. Wait, you mean you know Hachi? Is Hachi an old friend of yours? Asked Camie, slightly catching on. He's not our friend, answered Zoro. However, we agreed to help you. Oh, thank you. We'll help too, said Camie as she and Pappag dove into the water, causing the Straw Hats to slap themselves. Sure enough, not a few seconds later, Macro and 2 other fishmen rose up and lifted up Camie, showing that she was caught. Sanji was about to take action but was halted by Nami as she watched Hachi struggle and slam his body into the cage, trying to break free to help Camie. I'll save you right now, Camie, Hachi shouted with tears in his eyes as he continued to try and break free. Sigh, okay, let's save them, said Nami, who now had a smile on her face. Hachi isn't that bad. Actually, he's harmless. With that, the tension seemed to disappear. And Nami Swan. That firm, determined appearance is just wonderful, shouted a heart-eyed Sanji. All right then. Zoro. Let's go. Robin, you grab Camie and Pappag. The rest of you keep your eyes open, shouted Luffy as he and Zoro had already jumped onto the floating village. While they did that, Robin created multiple arms and grabbed the 2 captives and brought them back onto B. Wait, devil fruit user? Asked Macro in frustration. Damn it. Straw Hats. Thank you so much. I'm indebted to you, shouted Hachi. Zoro, free Hachi. Just then the Flying Fish Riders made their move. From underneath the water, 18 members burst forth on their flying fish. They began circling the bee and started to drop bombs, only for Sanji to jump into action and kick them away. These punks are annoying, said Sanji as he landed on the deck. Agreed. said Nami after using her thunder attack, which brought down 5 of the riders. Meanwhile, Robin had grabbed 5 of the flying fish, constricting them, which caused them to crash into some buildings. Usopp was shooting paint bombs, which hit 3, blinding them, causing them to lose control and crash as well. Brook stood on the middle of the deck as 2 fish came swooping down, only for Brook to draw his blade at the last second. However, to the riders, they thought nothing had happened until Brook's blade clinked in its sheath. Blood suddenly erupted from the 2 fish, effectively causing more damage to the base. The remaining 3 riders were completely stunned that in a matter of minutes their numbers had been taken down so easily. However, one tried to test his luck and came in as if to hit the ship, only for Chopper to appear in front and grab the fish and suplex the fish onto the deck, knocking out both the fish and the rider. Chopper then threw the 2 off the ship and into the base. The remaining 2 landed and attempted to run into a building, only to be stopped by a recently freed Hachi, courtesy of Zoro. "Well, they weren't that tough," said a bored Luffy as he and the others watched the members come crawling out of the buildings, clearly showing injuries as some had cuts on their heads and bodies. "Shit! These guys are way out of our league," shouted one in between, panting for breath. "Yeah, you can say that," said another as he leaned against a building. "Damn it! Where is the macro crew?" "Do you mean these punks?" shouted Frankie as he threw 3 tied-up fishmen onto land. "Gah! Damn, that hurt!" shouted Macro as he hit the ground. "So you're the crew that is constantly trying to capture Camie, huh?" asked Luffy as he walked over to them and looked Macro dead in the eyes. "Now is not the time to stutter," said Zoro as he stood behind the 3. Please don't kill us. We will never try and catch any Oga." The words of one of the fishermen were cut short thanks to a nod from Luffy and a sword from Zoro. Luffy sat down crisscrossed in front of the remaining 2 and put his hand through his hair, but kept it on the back of his neck. After a few seconds he reached back and placed his hat on his head. "Sigh, I really hate cowards, you know. But slavers, they're on a whole nother level," said Luffy with a vicious grin. "However, I feel like you guys are gonna change your path in life. Am I right?" he asked as he looked over to the dead fishman, then back at Macro, who was nodding his head 100 miles per hour. This caused Luffy to smile a toothy smile. "Good, I'm glad to hear that. However, do not test this opportunity or else." The last part was cold and dark. Luffy stood back up and gave Frankie a nod. "Well, boys, today is your lucky day," he shouted as he grabbed the rope and began to spin in a circle faster and faster until he threw the 2, sending them flying further than anyone could follow. "Oi, Straw Hat!" Luffy looked over to see Hachi. There is still their leader, Duval. Suddenly a giant man in an iron mask burst through the center building. "Getting yourselves knocked down in droves, you're not bugs, you know. Flying fish riders. You're lucky. I don't need this base anymore, as long as I can kill the Straw Hats." "We're so sorry, Head." "Whatever. I didn't enter the slave trading market cause I wanted to. You guys understand that, right?" "Of course, Head." "What a great day this is. The man I wanted to kill so badly that I even saw him in my dreams is right here. I'm so grateful. I guess there is a God, huh? One day, I was suddenly thrown into the depths of hell because of that man. Today, I'll kill you right here, even if I die missile dash." Duval didn't get to finish his speech as Luffy had grown tired of listening to this idiot. Everyone stopped what they were doing. The flying fish riders were speechless while the Straw Hats just looked at the scene in front of them. There, standing with his arm thrust forward, was Luffy, and in front of him was a seemingly headless Duval. Behind Duval's body was the shape of a paw print all the way on the other side of the base. Head. The remaining riders watched as their leader's body buckled then fell to the ground. Luffy clicked his tongue against his teeth. "You're lucky I took my anger out on that fishman. I do not care why you attacked us, but take this as a chance for a new beginning. If you ever attack my crew again, or touch my friends, I will kill you all. Got it?" Hi. Was all the remaining riders were able to get out. "Good. Everyone, let's go." With that, the Straw Hats boarded their ship and continued on their journey. After going for a while, they located Hachi's restaurant, where he offered to cook them a takoyaki meal. So they hooked a line to the bee and began to tow it so they could eat. The crew happily accepted and were surprised to find out that Hachi was actually a decent cook. "This is good," said Luffy. Hachi's takoyaki is the best in the world, isn't it? Said a happy Camie. It really is good. How does he bring out the taste of the sauce like this? Asked an intrigued Sanji. There's just something great about a food stall at sea, huh? Asked Usopp with a mouth full of food. This is the first time I have ever eaten takoyaki. It tastes really good. It feels like my stomach is going to burst, although I have no stomach, said Brook. Eat as much as you like, it's free today. It is our way of thanking you for saving us, said a smiling Hachi as he continued to whip up more takoyaki. But paused when he realized Nami hadn't said anything to him since he was rescued. How does it taste, Nami? Everyone paused and listened to the dead silence that came with that question. They all waited what seemed like hours only for her to respond. It's not like I'll forgive you just because of this, you know. Of course not. That's not what I meant. I just wanted to know what you think, honestly. Well, it's really good, she said with a smile which made Hachi start crying tears of joy. Really? Is that so? Great, what a relief. Everyone let out a relieved sigh. Alright, you guys. Feel free to eat as much as you want. And so they ate, and after a while everyone was full. Good job, Hachi. Everyone seems satisfied, said Camie as she cleaned. Really? Then I'm satisfied too, came Hachi's response. With that, everyone went over and boarded the bee, which is when Camie pulled out a map and pointed to it. This is the course we're gonna take. We're headed for Sabaody Archipelago. We can't get to Fishman Island without going there first? Asked Usopp. Fishmen and mermen can just dive straight down to get back. But you're humans, so if you tried to dive down there, the pressure would kill you, Hachi informed them. How are we going to make it there? Asked Frankie. Alright, pay attention. It seems like you don't know anything. So I'll tell you a thing or two about these seas. To start with, there are actually 2 routes you can take to reach the New World. But only one of them is accessible for outlaws, like yourselves, started Pappag. Why? Asked Zoro. Well, that's because one requires the world government's permission for you to cross the red line by going over the top through the Holy Land Marijoa at its summit. Of course, there's no way a pirate would be allowed to pass through like that. You mean, walking over the red line? Then what would we do about the ship? Asked Chopper. You'd have to leave the ship behind, and get a new one on the other side. Leave the ship behind? Shouted Frankie. Yeah. Getting permission takes both time and money, but it's the safest way to get there. However, the passage you're taking will allow you to get through with your ship and everything. That passage is known as the Ocean Floor Route, which goes straight by Fishman Island. But the Ocean Floor Route is pretty dangerous as well, said Camie, taking over. What do you mean? Asked Sanji. There are plenty of people who are eaten, along with their ships, by sea monsters and sea kings. I get it, that would be pretty dangerous, said Frankie. Wait a minute, Camie. Did you just say along with their ships? Asked Nami. Huh. Yeah. What kind of ship can we use to travel on the ocean floor? This ship. Huh. Was the collective response of the group, save for Zoro, who at some point decided to take a nap. Hey, this ship can't travel underwater, informed Frankie. No, it'll be alright. You see, inside of that huge wall, circling the globe, the red line, there's a small hole in a certain spot. Although from our perspective, it's a huge hole. And that's where Fishman Island is. Actually, it's right underneath the Holy Land, Marijoa. You just head about 10,000 meters down, and there it is, exclaimed Hachi. That far down? Wasn't Sky Island about 10,000 meters up in the sky too? Said Nami. What do you mean, we're going to take this ship to the ocean floor? Questioned Frankie, still confused. We're going to get the ship coated at the island we're going to now. You'll understand when we get there. After continuing for a bit, they came upon their destination. Now, look ahead. Everyone, we're here, informed Pappag. Everyone was basically speechless as they looked upon the giant trees. This is the Sabaody Archipelago. They continued forward, further into the mass of trees. There are so many bubbles floating around. It's beautiful, said Nami. They're rising up from the island, said Camie. Sorry for interrupting, But is the log pose alright? Asked Robin. Oh, right, it's still pointing to Fishman Island, but won't this island cause it to change course? Asked a concerned Nami. You don't have to worry about that. The Sabaody Archipelago is just a lot of trees. It doesn't have a magnetic field, said Hachi. Is that so? Then those aren't really islands? Asked Luffy. Right. Have you ever heard of mangrove trees? With a nod, Hachi continued. The Sabaody Archipelago is the largest mangrove in the world. They call the trees here the Urukumin mangroves. Hachi then pointed to the writing on one tree, which read 44 gr. In all, there are 79 trees, and all of them are like small islands. There are towns or other structures on each one. All of the islands together are known as the Sabaody Archipelago. The closest grove, Grove 44, is the civilian entrance, so let's take the ship a little closer. Each island is also connected by bridges, like that one, he said as he pointed to one connecting the islands just like he said. The rest of the Straw Hats were marveling at the size of the trees and the scenery, while Luffy had to admit he too was impressed. After passing through Grove 44, they continued down until they reached their docking point. Alright, we're here. This is Grove 41. This is where we're dropping anchor. Alright everyone, don't forget the number here. Like I said earlier, all of the islands are connected via bridges, so if you remember the number, you won't get lost. Finished Hachi as everyone was now on the ground. Luffy donned a captain's coat that hung over his shoulders. Point 1. However, no one noticed that they were being watched by a man with bounty posters. He was freaking out. There's no way that that's them. They just couldn't possibly be here. I have to tell everyone. With that thought, the man took off and told everyone that would listen to him that the Straw Hats had arrived. Little did he know there were people from 9 certain crews that had overheard the man. Each one took off to report back to their own captain. Ha, there is still one that'll get lost even with numbers, said Usopp as he and Chopper looked at Zoro. Robin had been looking around at the soap bubbles. Those soap bubbles really are mysterious. How do they work? The roots of these Urukumin mangroves secrete a unique kind of resin, said the orange starfish Pappag. Oh no! This is all sticky, said Robin as she placed her hand on the ground, getting the secretion on her hand before wiping it off on Usopp. Don't wipe it off, shouted Usopp. So, when the trees breath out, the resin is blown out as well, and forms these soap bubbles, said Pappag as he pointed to a new bubble that just appeared from the ground. I see, so that's why they're all floating into the sky, said Chopper. So all this is actually natural? Asked Luffy, looking around. By the way, Hachi, what's our goal on this island? You said something about coating for the ship earlier, didn't you? Asked Nami. We have to find a coating mechanic, and have him coat your ship with this resin. Simply put, that will enable your ship to travel under the sea, said Hachi. Seriously? Asked Frankie. That's the only way humans can reach Fishman Island. However, if you get an amateur to do it, the ship, and the humans riding it, would be crushed by the water pressure. I know one mechanic who's trustworthy, so I'm gonna take you to him, said Hachi. Octopus-san, you are such a nice fellow for helping us so much. He is a nice octopus, said Brook. In exchange, I'd like you to make just a single promise to me, said Hachi. Sure, what is it? Asked Luffy. Once we enter the city, we might run into the world nobles walking around there. World nobles? Who are they? Asked Chopper. The citizens of the Holy Land, Mariajoa, said Robin. And what about them? Asked Luffy. No matter what might happen in the city, I want you to promise me that you won't lay a hand on the world nobles, said Hachi in a serious but almost desperate voice. No matter what? Asked a wide-eyed Nami. What do you start at, Sanji? Got it? Even if someone were to be killed right before your very eyes, just pretend you didn't see anything. I'll say it one more time, just pretend you didn't see anything, said Hachi. Luffy put his hand to his chin and closed his eyes for a moment before reopening them. I promise I will do my best. Hachi nodded, seeing as that was the best he was gonna get from Luffy. Frankie, Usopp, Sanji, stay with ship while we go into town, said Luffy. Sure, we need to refill the cola anyway. We used up all our cola in that battle back there. Taking care of the ship is my job, said Frankie in a proud voice. I will help you, said Usopp as the others went to town, leaving the three behind. However, Zoro had stayed behind as well before he took off. "Zoro!" shouted Usopp. "Hello? Zoro-kun?" shouted Sanji. "Where are you going, all by yourself?" they asked together. Zoro heard them and turned around. "For a walk." "So what?" "Stop it!" shouted Usopp. "Don't, you'll get lost, damn it! This is an archipelago, you know. We won't be able to find you," shouted Sanji. "Like I'd get lost. Who'd get lost on an island like this, where it's so easy to find your way? Each of the trees have a number on them, right? Even a kid with the worst sense of direction would be able to find his way," said an irritated Zoro. "You'd thought that far ahead?" asked Usopp. "I didn't think of that. Sorry. Be careful," said Sanji as they waved. "Don't forget to ask for directions. Don't believe in yourself. They're going way overboard. As long as I don't forget the number on this tree, number 1, right?" He didn't see the 4 because it was being blocked by a soap bubble. "Why do they keep looking down on me? No way anyone would get lost around here. I can't believe those guys," he said as he walked off with Luffy and the others. The group was on their way to the nearest town. The world nobles are also known as the Celestial Dragons. They are really arrogant, and wear a mask so they don't have to breathe the same air as everyone else. No matter what, don't try to oppose those guys. I need you to promise that," said Hachi, who had donned a large coat with the number 8 and 2 bandages crossed on his forehead. This was directed at Luffy. "Whatever," he said with a wave of his hand in a careless manner. "And there are several other things to look out for. Like I said earlier, this island is where everyone who wants to go to the New World gathers. There are plenty of big-name pirates like yourselves, and then there are marines and bounty hunters trying to catch them. Also, even if pirates are taken away by slave traders, the law won't protect them. If you do anything to get yourselves noticed, they'll go after you instantly, so be careful. The marines around here are not to be taken lightly. These waters are close to the Navy HQ, after all. All the bounty hunters around here are on a totally different level as well. And there's one more thing," but before Hachi could finish, he was interrupted by a bored Luffy. "What's that? You're too concerned about stuff. By the way, why are there bandages on your forehead?" "Huh? Oh, don't worry about it. Camie and I are not a mermaid and a fishman, okay? While we're here, please pretend that we're ordinary people." "Huh? Why?" "It's just easier like that." "Is that why you and Camie put on those clothes, to blend?" he asked as he looked at Camie, who had donned a pink skirt which left no signs of her tail at all. "We should follow the customs of the culture around here, Luffy. Let's just do as the octopus told us to," said Robin after looking at Camie and Hachi. "Oh yeah? Hachi, why is it the bubbles pop at a certain point in the air?" "They pop because they leave the Sabaody archipelago's unique atmosphere. This place has a special, unique climate specifically suited to the Urukuman mangroves. But once you leave that climate, the soap bubbles won't be strong enough to stay whole." They looked over and saw a man riding on a bubble. "Is that so? Then, that means you can only ride the soap bubbles for as long as you stay on the island, doesn't it?" asked Robin. Her answer was a simple nod. As they continued through the town they had reached, they could hear the whispers from the people around them. "Isn't that?" "Yeah, that's them. So that's the famous Captain Monkey D. Luffy." After walking some more they found themselves in Grove 35. "Grove 35, there are lots of hotels here, aren't there?" said Robin, looking around at all the hotels. "It's the living quarters for those waiting for permission to pass through Mariajoa," said Hachi. "It's really easy to make these hotels, see that over there?" asked Pappag as he pointed over to some workers. "They just coat those huge soap bubbles in a special alloy, and the foundation is done. That's how they make those round buildings." "Really? Robin, isn't that a shopping mall?" shouted Nami as the two took off for Grove 30. "We'll leave the coating to you guys," shouted Nami as they left. "Alright, just be careful." "Where are we going?" asked Chopper. "To Grove 13. We've still got a long way to go." "We're going now," said Hachi as they took off for Grove 13. After walking for a bit they arrived at Grove 31, only to see a crowd of people surrounding a man trying to get a collar off from around his neck. "Please release me," Please. Please get this off me. I'm going back home. I'm begging you. Hey. I'm asking you a favor here. Anyone's fine. An axe. A saw. Anything will do. Just give me something. I just want to get this off my neck. I won't hurt anyone. But no one moved to help him. I've given up on going to the new world. I've got a wife and a child back home. I'm begging you. Please lend me a hand. I want to go home. Last time I saw my kid, he was still a baby. He still doesn't even know what I look like. I'm begging you. I want to go home. Hey, please. Please help me. The man was practically in tears, but still no one moved to help him. Just as Luffy was about to help the man, he was stopped by Hachi. Don't get involved. He's probably a pirate who was caught by kidnappers and sold as a slave. His owner probably brought him to this island, and he made a run for it. Even though he should know that he can't escape. That's when the man's collar started ticking, causing the crowd to back up even more. What's that sound? Asked Chopper. Damn. This ring. If I could just get off my neck. Damn it. No. Stop. Please stop. Hey. Damn it all to hell. That's when the collar exploded, causing the man to fall to the ground with grave injuries. Slaves always have those chains attached to their necks. If they try to take them off or run away, they'll explode, said Hachi. It's a slave who tried to run away. Get away. Don't get involved with him. These were the shouts that came from the crowd. Oh, look at that, we have to help him, said Brook. Idiot. You promised to not get involved, no matter what, right? Said Pappag. What's with this city? Shouted Chopper. Hachi, what are we going to do? The celestial dragons are nearby, said Camie in an obvious tone of panic. It's alright. Calm down, Camie. That's when the Straw Hats got their first look at the celestial dragons. There appeared to be two of them, a man and a woman. There was also a dog and what appeared to be some form of knight. They had bubbles over their heads, and were wearing some white suit. As they approached, you could practically feel the arrogance rolling off of them. Behind them was a rather large slave that was connected to a chain, basically a leash. As they neared, everyone bowed. Those must be the celestial dragons, said Luffy before Hachi forced him to bow. You have to bow down. Why? No matter what, don't look them in the eyes. That's when their little dog walked over to the man and pissed on him. Hachi could see Luffy tense, as if to move, only to stop when Hachi shook his head. Those, I believe, are St. Roswell and St. Shalilia, whispered Hachi. My, how vulgar, Saru, said St. Shalilia as she walked over to the man with her father next to her. Dearest father, yet another one has been broken. Did you ensure to give him his tranquilizer every day? Asked St. Roswell. Why, yes, I did. However, it appears that it does not work on fools like this one. Would you please buy me a new one? Your disciplining skills are truly terrible. You keep destroying my captain collection, one after another. This one is certainly useless. Humph, she said as she kicked him. So you meet your end amidst crying families and grown men. You are just a mere human, she said as she continued to kick the man. He can't even move anymore, said Chopper as he gritted his teeth. That's when she stopped kicking him and pulled out a pistol. Frankly, you disgust me. And with that fired 2 shots into the man. The Straw Hats watching were in utter shock at how cruel these people were. Sure, they themselves were not saints, but even they had some form of morality. With one more disgusted look, Saint Shalilia turned away and the group she came with started to leave. However, people could still hear their conversation. I would like a giant slave next. You should start with a human child. But I detest the weak. And with that, they disappeared out of earshot. Once they were officially gone, everyone stood back up. Then out of nowhere, a group of Marines with a stretcher appeared and carried the man off. It's the Marines! We should get away from here. So with that, the group took off, even though some were reluctant. How about some tea? It will help calm you down, said Brook, who offered the cup to Camie, but she shook her head. I feel terrible. Think that guy will be alright? Asked Chopper. He's a pirate, so even if they save him, he'll just be sent to prison, said Hachi. That pirate should be able to beat that old guy and the woman, right? Why? Asked Chopper. If you hurt one of the celestial dragons, an admiral from Navy HQ and a fleet of battleships will come here, said Pappag. An admiral? Akiji? Luffy asked in shock that they had that much pull with the world government. It could be a Kainu or Kizaru, there's no way to know who'd show up. The HQ is right next to us, after all, said Pappag. What makes those guys so special? Asked Chopper. Those guys are descendants of the creators. The creators? 800 years ago, a group of 20 kings formed the organization known as the world government. The celestial dragons are their descendants. And over the course of the years they've come to abuse their incredible influence. The celestial dragons, said Luffy with a grin. They never noticed the group of bounty hunters that were up on a much higher route. It's him. Ya no mistaking it, it's Straw Hat Luffy. He's worth 400 million belly. They took off to attack Luffy. Luffy sensed something coming at him and sidestepped a sword after waiting before turning and slapping the man in the face, which sent him crashing into a tree and left an impression of his body after he dropped unconscious. Meanwhile, Brook took off running around the group at high speeds. What's with this damn skeleton? I'll exorcise you? And the man swung his sword only for Brook to jump in the air and land in the middle of the group as he pulled out his sword. He just dodged and slashed at those who were stupid enough to attack. Chopper transformed into his more human form and clotheslined 3 bounty hunters. Over with Luffy, the bounty hunters were doing worse. They couldn't even touch him, and he wasn't even trying. He's so fast. Be careful. Luffy leaned backwards to dodge 2 horizontal slashes before coming back up, knocking the 2 out with punches to the face. He then jumped backwards, dodging a downward strike. Luffy then kicked the man, sending him into the roots. Sigh, these guys are so pathetic, it's sad. Damn. How can all of them be so strong? In that case, I'll take that woman as a hostage, said a man as he moved for Camie. As he got close, Camie's shoe fell off, revealing part of her tail. No way, thought some of the bounty hunters that were smart enough to not attack. Oh damn it! Camie, said Hachi. That was the final straw. If he was gonna use one of his friends as a hostage, he would just have to die now. With that, Luffy appeared suddenly in between the hunter and Camie and thrust his hand forward, sending a paw thrust into the man's chest, effectively killing him. Alright. You okay? Sorry for the trouble, Straw Hat, said Hachi. Thank you, Luffy-chin, said Camie. It's fine. So you guys got everyone else right? Yes, said Brook. You people truly are amazing, said Hachi as they continued on to their destination. No matter how many of them show up, we won't lose to someone like that, said Luffy. They never noticed another part of the group of the bounty hunters stare at Camie hidden behind the tree and then leave. But what was that? So many bounty hunters suddenly showed up, said Brook. That was the 3rd group to try and attack us, said Chopper. That's when they looked around and noticed a sign hung on a root with the body of a dead marine. Navy, keep out. I don't see any more souvenir shops, said Brook. There are fewer people around, and the shops in cities feel rather suspicious. It doesn't seem like the kind of place where we would find a coding mechanic, said Chopper. This archipelago is huge, so there are places where the government's eyes can't reach. The Marines won't go anywhere near this place. Have a look at this, said Hachi as he handed a piece of paper to Brook. A map, is it? It classifies the groves in groups of 10, based on their specific traits. Nothing is set in stone, but for the most part, it's accurate. For example, the places we've been to so far, the groves in the 40s, where your ship is docked, is the tourist area, where there are lots of souvenir shops and things like that. And if you continue to the 30s, you'll reach the amusement area, where the Sabaody Park is located, said Hachi. Then, the 60s are the Navy's headquarters, and the main entrance, correct? Asked Brook. Yeah. The 60s are the one part of this place we shouldn't go to. Then, what's this area here? Asked Chopper. This is Grove 16. Groves 1 to 29 are more or less a lawless zone. That's why there are so many bounty hunters around, said Hachi. Couldn't you have said that sooner? If you had, you could have taken Sanji or Zoro instead of me, shouted Chopper. It's fine now. Our destination, Grove 13, is next. Chopper-chin, Skeleton-chin, you were both really strong and cool. After walking a bit more they reached Grove 13. Well then, we're here. We finally made it here, said Chopper. It seems that the store is on the top of that route. Wonder if it's still open. It's been 10 years after all, said Hachi as he looked at the store. Say, is this coding mechanic a fisherman too? Asked a curious Luffy. Oh, Pappag and I haven't met him before. We've heard that he's quite amazing though, said Camie. Oh, really? Well, I guess we'll know once we meet him. As they got to the front of the store they read the sign. Shakky's Rip-Off Bar? Hachi, this place seems like a total rip-off, said Pappag. That mechanic isn't some sort of monster, is he? Asked Chopper. It's fine. They're nice people. I've known them since I was a kid. Seems they're open, said Hachi as he read the sign on the door and walked in. Really, Shakky? Shakky's Rip-Off Bar. They walked in to see a woman with a cigarette, holding a bloody man and another laying on the floor. Welcome. What can I do for you? Asked the woman before she looked to see Hachi. Oh, my, could it be Hakin? Long time, no see. Sorry, it's been so long, Shakky. That's right. It's been at least 10 years, hasn't it? Just sit down and wait. I've got to finish extorting the money out of these boys here. Take your time, said Hachi as they went and sat down. I'll finish it quickly, said Shakky as she quickly dispatched the two men outside before she turned back to the group. Is that so? You quit being a pirate, Hakin? She asked after Hachi told her about what he was up to. Plenty of things happened. Well, good for you. Honesty is the best way to go, after all. By the way, it's not often that you see a mermaid above the sea. Camie-chan, are you Hakin's girlfriend? This caused Camie to freak out. And in no way, I couldn't become Hachi's BBB bride. You're overreacting, said Pappag. She works with me at the takoyaki stand. Oh, is that it? That's right, would you like something to drink? Shakky-san, these beans are quite tasty, said Brooke, who was eating some beans that were sitting on the counter. Brooke, she's gonna rip you off, shouted Chopper. It's okay, I don't mind. Well then, I'll give you something good. Here, she said, handing Chopper some cotton candy. Cotton candy? Shouted Chopper with stars in his eyes. It's great. Right. It'll cost you 100,000 belly. I don't have that much. Shakky placed a hand on Chopper's head. Sorry. It was a joke. I won't ask for payment from Hakin's friends. How do you know what Chopper's favorite food was? Asked Luffy. You're Monkey-chan's crew, right? I see you know of us. Of course. You're the crew everyone talks about. I'm pretty well informed. Really? Luffy-chin, you're famous? Asked Camie. Though, I didn't know you had a skeleton in your crew, or that a living skeleton existed, for that matter, said Shakky as she leaned over towards Brooke. Oh, I should have introduced myself sooner. I am Dead Bones Brooke. It is a pleasure to meet you. The pleasure's all mine. Oh? You've got some food stuck there, said Shakky as she grabbed the bean on Brooke's cheek and ate it. Shakky-san, said a red Brooke as the top of his skull opened to let smoke out. What a nice person. What color are your panties? Well, I'm sure today's were, started Shakky but was interrupted by Camie. You can't tell him. That is incredible. I cannot stop my nosebleed. Though I have no nose. I read an article about you guys. About the Enies lobby incident. How much of it is true? Is it true that you picked a fight with the government? Whatever, it's too much trouble to tell you. Not gonna brag? What a big shot. Come to think of it, your name is the same as that Marine, Garp, right? Yeah, he's my grandpa. I thought so. I used to be chased around by him all the time. Shakky used to be a pirate, said Hachi. Really? I gave up about 40 years ago, though. These days, I think it's fun supporting rookies like yourselves. By the way, Shakky, started Hachi. No need to say it. I know all of it. The reason why you and Camie-chan came here was to help Monkey-chan and his crew get their ship coated, right? In other words, you've got a job for Rayleigh, right? That's right, said Hachi. But he isn't here. Huh? The mechanic isn't around? We want to go to Fisherman Island, said Brooke. Well, there's no way he'd leave this archipelago, so how about looking for him in the bars and gambling houses? Then, we'll just wait until he comes back, said Luffy. That's right. He'll be back eventually. He's been gone for half a year, though. Half a year? Shouted Chopper and Brooke. I'm sure he's found girlfriends, and thus found places to sleep, so I am not exactly worried about his health. I suppose it's just how ex-pirates are. Once they leave, they won't return for a long time. But this is quite a problem if he isn't here. I suppose we have no choice but to look for him. Do you have any idea where we should start? Asked Brooke. Let's see, he's probably somewhere between Grove 1 and 29. Grove 1 to 29, that means the lawless zone? Said Chopper. He's quite notorious, so he can't lower his guard when there are Marines around. And then if he's not there, he also likes going to the Sabaody Park. Sabaody Park? Asked Brooke. Yeah, it's the amusement park here. The amusement park, eh? Alright, we will start there. The amusement park, shouted Camie, Chopper, and Brooke. Anyway, whenever you go to look for him, be careful. According to my information, now that you've arrived, there should be 13 people on the Sabaody archipelago with bounty exceeding 100 million belly. 13 people with bounties exceeding 100 million belly? Asked Chopper. Oh, really? Said Luffy with a grin. Just because you have the largest bounty out of all of them and 3 other members are in your crew doesn't mean that they won't come after you, Luffy-chan. I mean, I understand just how dangerous you have to be, but your Nakama aren't quite on the same level as you, said Shakky in a caring yet concerned tone. Luffy just nodded. Anyway, not counting Monkey-chan, Roronoa-chan, Sanji-chan, and Robin-chan, there are 9 others. When you entered the Grand Line, there were 7 paths you could take, and you chose one of them, and have been following the log on that path ever since, right? Yeah. Of course, there were also people who chose one of the other 6 routes, and made it through all sorts of trouble to get here, just like yourselves. No matter what route you take, each of them eventually leads to the Red Line, and to get past that, well, everyone comes to this archipelago. Understand? Though it's pretty amazing that all of the world's rookies managed to show their faces here at the same time. In particular, there's Kid, Luffy, Hawkins, Drake, and Law. These names have been decorating the newspapers for some time now. I haven't heard of them, said Luffy. Knowledge is power. You should at least learn the names of your rivals. If we're going by bounty value, you're number 1 among them. There is Devil Child Nico Robin with a bounty of 100 million from O'Hara, Man Monk Urage, captain of the fallen monk pirates from Sky Island, with a bounty of 108 million. Then there is Sanji-chan with a 110 million bounty, of course, from East Blue. Then there is Capone Gang Beach, captain of the Fire Tank Pirates, with a bounty of 138 million. He is from West Blue. After that there is the Glutton Jewelry Bonnie, captain of the Bonnie Pirates, with a bounty of 140 million from South Blue. After her comes a man by the name of Killer, a pirate from the Kid Pirates, with a bounty of 162 million from South Blue. Then comes Zoro-chan with a 180 million bounty, also from East Blue. Then we have Roar of the Sea, Scratchman, a Puck, captain of the On-Air Pirates, with a bounty of 198 million from the Grand Line. Next up there is the Surgeon of Death, Trafalgar Law, captain and Doctor of the Heart Pirates, with a bounty of 200 million from North Blue. After him there is Red Flag X Drake, captain of the Drake Pirates and former Marine Rear Admiral, with a bounty of 222 million from North Blue. Next there is Magician Basil Hawkins, captain of the Hawkins Pirates, with a bounty of 249 million from North Blue. Then there's the one with the closest bounty to Luffy-chan. He is Eustace Captain Kid with a bounty of 315 million, captain of the Kid Pirates from South Blue. And last but not least we have Straw Hat Monkey D. Luffy with a bounty of at 400 million, captain of the Straw Hat Pirates, and of course from East Blue. All of the pirate crews that entered the Grand Line have been reduced to an easily countable number. The Grand Line is like a huge survival tournament. Regardless of which path they traveled, the ones that survive this far are truly the elites. Among them, there might be one who will become a huge leading figure for the next generation of pirates. Regardless, even the new world won't remain unfazed if so many big-shot rookies enter at once. Also, the reason why Captain Kid Bounty is the closest to you is because his crew has badly injured civilians. Not too cute, right? I mean, I know you guys are no strangers to killing, but you don't kill innocents. Because of that, I'm wholeheartedly cheering for your crew, Monkey-chan," said Shakky. Grove 24. In a restaurant, we find a somewhat attractive woman with pink hair stuffing her face with food. She was surrounded by a group of people that seemed to be with her. "Look at her eat. Where does all the food go?" were some of the remarks people were making as they watched in slight awe or horror. "Bring me more food," shouted the woman. On the other side of the restaurant, we find a group of what some would call the mafia by how they were dressed. They were standing near a rather short man as he tried to enjoy his meal. "Vulgar woman, she's ruining my meal. Go shut her up." "That's not a good idea, father. Navy headquarters is just a stone's throw away. If we were to cause a scene now," said one of the men. However, this just infuriated the man. He picked up his fork, but whatever he was about to do with it was halted as two people came bursting into the restaurant. "Captain/Father!" both men shouted. Each made their way to either the woman or the small man. Can't you see that I'm eating?" said the woman in between bites. "Captain Bonnie, we have an issue that'll make you lose your appetite," said the man as he tried to catch his breath. "Oh really, Munch? I seriously munched out munch that," said the now identified Captain Jewelry Bonnie of the Bonnie Pirates. Bonnie is a slim woman despite the enormous amount of food she is capable of eating, with long pink hair and purple eyes. Her outfit consists of a white low-cut tank top that exposes both her midriff and cleavage, along with a pair of orange and black striped buckled shorts with long, thin suspenders. She also wears black high-heeled boots which reach up to her calves, with large laces coming from the openings, and a pair of hot pink and dark red stockings with a yellow sun-like motif on them. The hat she wears is a green furizerka with a light green lining. She has an anti-eyebrow below her right eye, bright red lipstick on her lips, and is wearing a brown fur jacket. Point 2. The man took a huge breath to try and calm down, but it didn't help. SS Straw Hat Luffy and his crew are here, on Sabaody. There was the sound of plates breaking against the floor courtesy of Bonnie as she sat there. "Shit! I didn't think they'd get here so soon." At the same time on the other side of the restaurant. "Hey boss Capone, we got a problem, a really big problem," said the man as he was in front of the small man. "What could possibly be a big problem for us?" the now identified captain of the fire tank pirates asked. Capone is a short man with a stocky build whose appearance is somewhat similar to that of a mafia boss. He sports an oiled-up and slicked-back hairstyle befitting that of a crime don. His facial features have a very stern look to them, further accentuated by his rather sharp but hooking beak-like nose. He also has 5 o'clock stubble on his upper lip. He wears a black and white pinstriped attire, complete with a green scarf around his neck, with the excess tucked inside the suit making it look like a cravat. Capone wears very expensive golden rings with precious stones mounted on them, but because Capone has 2 hands, all his fingers including the thumbs have them. His pirate captain's coat with red and gold trimming and a western-style cowboy hat were placed on a chair next to him. Point 2. "The straw hats are here. Damn it, I thought we'd have been gone before they got here," was all he thought. No one moved as another person came running in and took off towards the back where a blond man had just stood to leave with his group. "Captain Hawkins," said the man obviously part of his crew. "You've come to tell me a problem, well let's hear it," was Captain Basil Hawkins's stoic response as he shuffled what appeared to be a deck of cards. Hawkins is a tall man, with black triangle symbols on his eyebrows, red eyes, and golden hair that reaches down to his hips. He also has a black cross tattooed at the base of his throat at the front of his neck. His attire includes a pure white coat with a ruffled neckline and sleeves. He also wears purple trousers tucked inside black boots with white laces on them and a dark ornament made of fur circling the lower part of his torso, with a lighter shade in the middle of it. He also has a pink sash tied around his waist, with a piece of jewelry hanging from it. Hawkins also wears dark gloves and an armor-like armlet can be seen on his left arm around his left biceps, which also extends to cover his left shoulder. On his right hip he carries a sword with an elaborate pommel that resembles a voodoo doll. Point 2. The cards were almost dropped by a surprised Hawkins. So somehow the most dangerous rookie made it here without me knowing him. Interesting. Over in a bar there was a red-headed man drinking at a table with an irritated look on his face. "Who's the guy with the stupid face?" asked the man after taking a swig of his drink. The man he was referring to was seated at a table directly across from him with a group of men as well. Oh, that'd be Roar of the Sea. He's part of the Long-Arm tribe. With that said, the redhead and Appa locked eyes, which immediately turned into a glare between the two. However, Appa made a come here motion with his finger, causing the redhead to rise in anger. Boss. That was all the man was able to get out as redhead sent an attack out that destroyed part of the wall. However, the man's attack missed his mark as Appa backflipped out into the streets. This caused panic amongst the people outside as they didn't know what was going on. What's going on? A fight? If you want to fight, let's save it for the other side. Or do you not know how strong I am? Said Appa in a taunting manner. Being of the long-arm tribe from the Grand Line, one of Appa's distinguishing traits is his incredibly long arms. Each of these long arms possesses 2 elbow joints instead of just one, making them much longer than a normal person's. Appa also has a rather broad chest cavity, which may aid him in producing deep and bellowing drum-like sounds. Appa's lower jaw is also somewhat wider than the upper half of his face. Besides these, his most distinguishing attributes are his unique physical characteristics, and the objects adorned on him, all of which are music-themed or related. His teeth have a unique look to them as they resemble piano keys. He wears a set of orange headphones with his name on either side over his ears and hairstyle where the hair on his scalp has been pulled tightly so that his roots resemble lightning patterns. A red Chinese garb with what one could guess was his crew's Jolly Roger Odo sound or music, at the center of a large flower-like print splayed across the chest area, as well as on his back. Appa also has a yellow scarf around his waist. He also has what seems to be the design of a green rose sewed on front of his left shoulder point too. Then quick you damn starin', said the redhead as he emerged through the smoke that was slowly dissipating. Boss. Don't. Pleaded a man. Damn, you're one creepy bastard. I can get rid of you right now if you'd like. However, before anything further could be done, men started to run over to Appa and the redhead. Captain Kid! The man shouted to the redhead. Captain Appa. What is it? Can't you see you're interrupting? Said Kid with an irritated look on his face. Kid is a pale, tall, muscular man with bright red hair, resembling flames. His nose has a particular shape, being quite pointed and having little protrusions on both sides. He has dark-colored fingernails, red/orange eyes and no eyebrows. He dresses in an extravagant attire consisting of black and yellow lizard print pants with a red fringe, motorcycle boots, and a blue sash under a green belt fastened by a large circular buckle with a 4-leaf clover-like pattern in the middle. He also has a slim bandolier, also with minuscule bolts that go diagonally over his right shoulder then ties to his waist, where he keeps a dagger with a Japanese-style hilt and what appears to be a flintlock gun. He also has gold bangles around both wrists. He wears a pair of studded, square-shaped goggles on his forehead, and a large fur captain's coat over his bare muscular torso. The dark brown coat is adorned with spikes on its shoulders lined in maroon. The collar of the coat is extremely flared and wide. He currently only has his right arm in the sleeve, allowing his left arm to be free. .2 Standing next to him now was a man with a mask on his face. We've got problems, and they're big ones. And what could possibly be a problem for the future Pirate King? The Straw Hats have arrived. Kid instantly grew quiet and turned to Appa, who was aslo in shock at hearing the news. Well, today is your lucky day. Killer, let's go, said Kid to the man in the mask. Killer is both a lean and lanky man. He has long wild blonde hair that falls down to his thighs. He wears a plain, white and light blue full-head helmet with many holes in it, and what look like modern headphones on both the sides. He wears a black shirt with white polka dots and an open collar that shows his chest, with pants that resemble those worn by real-world Native Americans. Killer also has a red sash around his, carries a pair of hand guards which have very long detachable sides connected to them. .2 However, since they were leaving they were sheathed on his right hip. As they left, Appa was left to his own thoughts. Well, ain't this something? Grove 21. We find this grove in a state of panic as explosions rang out. What the hell is going on? The mad monk's on a rampage. As he pointed to a rather giant of a man with wings on his back was swinging around a large pillar as a weapon. Urage is abundant in both height and width. His face somewhat resembles a smiling totem mask as he is nearly always seen grinning. Apart from his smile, He also has what appears to be a stitched-up scar vertically descending over and falling short just above his left eye. On his chin he has a prominent, jet-black, and scruffy beard that extends upwards to the sides of his jaw and then converges with his equally dark sideburns. He seems to sport the short and clean-cut sort of hairstyle generally sported by monks. He also has black tattoos going down his shoulders that somewhat resemble fire. He dresses in some form of white clothing underneath the khaki robes he wears, which includes the white full-bodied garment with severed sleeves that exposes tattoos patterned like flames on both biceps. He wears a pair of gold earrings, black gloves, and a rather large red bead necklace. He also has a pair of large wings growing out from the middle of his back point too. "We gotta get out of here, quick!" In front of the giant man was a man sitting on a wooden crate with a nodachi. "Are you not gonna fight back, Trafalgar Law?" shouted Urage as he started to swing the pillar down, only for a man with an X on his chest to block his attack. This just caused Law to smirk. Law is a slim man of a relatively tall height. He has faint shadows right under his yellow eyes, gray in the anime, and his mouth is usually seen in a smile. He has dark black hair, a majority of which is obscured, save for his sideburns and small black goatee by the northern-style fur hat that Law wears, which is white and has spots on the bottom and along the rim. He wears a black-sleeved and hooded yellow hoodie with what appears to be his Jolly Roger out on the front of his chest and the sleeves rolled up. Law also sports a pair of jeans with odd markings on both the knee and ankle areas, similar to the ones on his hat, but darker in color, and a pair of dark, pointed shoes. He has a pair of small earrings on each ear. He has many tribal-style tattoos on his arms. On both of his hands are letters spelled as death tattooed in black on each of the back of his fingers. "If you want to go wild, do it in the New World," said the man. Well, if it isn't Drake," the fallen Navy officer said Urage. Drake is a lean and muscular man who wears what appears to be a combination of a white-plumed cocked hat with what appears to be his crew's Jolly Roger on the side and a mask over his eyes. Underneath this headgear, Drake's hair is reddish-brown, with brush-like sideburns. On his broad chin he has an X, and on his chest and upper body he also has another large X. He wears armor on his relatively thin legs and arms consisting of knee-high boots and gloves that go up past his elbows, respectively. The openings to both the gloves and the boots are also secured by the armor, which is rounded for the gloves and a sharp maple leaf pattern for the boots at the front of his knees. On the rest of his body he wears leather pants and a leather shirt. A belt with a large ornately designed circular belt buckle secures Drake's pants, as well as his sword and axe to his waist. He also wears a black cape, which, from the inside, is crimson-colored, with a white fur lining around the neck point too. "Things were just about to get good too, Drakea. How many people have you killed?" asked Law. Before an even bigger brawl could break out, some men came running up to them. "We've got bigger problems than these two, Captain," each man said. "The Straw Hats have arrived." With that one sentence everyone's mood instantly changed. Drake paused before leaving without uttering another word. "Well, things just got interest, huh?" asked Urage, to which Law sighed and got up and left. Shakky's ripoff bar. Luffy just sighed, then smiled. For some reason he just felt things were about to get interesting. Maybe he would have fun after all. Oh shit. Grove 13. After thinking about it some more, the group decided to start their search at the amusement park. They were currently outside of Shakky's ripoff bar. "Is everyone ready?" "Hi." "Well, be careful then. I should tell you, of course, the Navy already knows that there are so many high-level rookies gathered on this archipelago," informed Shakky. "Well, that is bad, then they could come at us at any time," spoke Brook as he finished another glass of tea. "Oh, that shouldn't be a problem. I wonder if this will speed up the meeting among the rookies? Right now, the Navy HQ is busy with something else, that they don't have the time to worry about you. Or at least I assume so. As long as no huge problems pop up on the archipelago, the Navy shouldn't send any major force here to deal with you. So in short, just take care not to start any kind of uproar, alright?" said Shakky with a smile as she inhaled on her cigarette. "Oh, so that's how it is. Gotcha. Thanks. We're off to look for the old mechanic dude," said Luffy with a grin as the group turned and left. "I hope they find him," said Shakky as she walked back into her bar. Sabaody Park. After walking for a bit, the group arrived at the amusement park. We've reached Sabaody Park, shouted Chopper with a huge smile. Wow! It looks so fun, said Camie. Remember, we're here to look for the mechanic, but you guys can have fun too, said Luffy as he went off to see what he could find out. Luffy-san doesn't want to have fun, asked Brook. I think he does, but he wants to get everyone out of here safely, said Chopper. The Ferris wheel. This is the first time I've been this close to it, shouted Camie with hearts in her eyes. Right. Then let's look for the mechanic while we have fun, said Brook. Yeah. Sigh, I bet Luffy is the only one who's actually gonna look for him. Camie, you can't even go in there. No way I'd let you go in, said Pappag in an obvious agitated tone. However, he was completely ignored as the group took off to ride the rides and hopefully look for the mechanic. We are rising quite slowly, aren't we? What a nice view, asked Brook as the roller coaster they were on started up. This turned into shouts of joy as soon as the first drop happened. Everyone enjoyed the ride, even Pappag, as he had a smile on his face with his tongue hanging out the side of his mouth. Soon, the ride came to an end, which resulted in Brook hunched over on the ground, panting heavily. Awesome! Let's do it again, said a happy Chopper. Were you scared, Camie? Asked Hachi. Yeah. It was really scary, but really fun, shouted a very happy Camie. My heart's still pounding. Although, I don't have a heart, yo-ho-ho-ho. That's nothing. I was in the very front. We went so fast my head almost wound up behind my back, shouted Pappag. After that the group went to look for the mechanic, yeah right. They went on more and more rides. Until finally, they made it onto the Ferris wheel. Wow! We're so high up, shouted Camie as she looked out over the park. Oh! They're selling ice cream. Oh, that sounds good, said Chopper. Wow! Everyone's so tiny. It's the ocean. I can see the ocean, shouted Camie. I wonder if Luffy has found out any information yet? Asked Chopper as he looked out trying to find Luffy but had no such luck. Wow! Wow! So this is how it looks, said Camie as tears started to gather in her eyes. It makes you happy enough to cry, Camie? Asked Chopper. Yeah, I've always dreamed of this, ever since I was a little girl. I've never been so high up before. I'll cherish this memory forever. Thank you. Hachi and Pappag only let me come here because you guys are strong. In the bubble behind Chopper and Camie was the rest of the group. Hachi could only smile as he watched the excitement on Camie's face. My dreams as a kid have come back to life too. Merfolk and fishmen always dream of coming here when growing up, spoke Hachi. So high up was all that Brook and Pappag were able to get out. After they got off the Ferris wheel, the group decided to take a break from all the fun they were having to grab some food. However, none of them realized that they were being watched. And by a pink bear of all things. Flashback. Earlier, over at a shady-looking building, we find some of the bounty hunters that was hiding during the earlier encounter with Luffy's group. I never thought they'd be that strong. Sounds like you had it rough. Right, Peterman-san. Peterman is a large man with a muscular torso and proportionally thin limbs. He has fuzzy black hair, a flat nose, sharp lips, and his shoulders seem to have studs sticking onto them. He wears a brown shirt with a green vest over it, black pants, a yellow coned hat with a white feather that has a red tip on it, and boots with frills. When I think the girl that was with Straw Hat Luffy might be a mermaid. When I think back when her shoe came off, I saw a tail fin instead of a foot. This caused Peterman's eyes to go wide before a very large, sly grin spread across his face. I see. But these strong companions of hers sound like trouble. And even so, a mermaid on land is a golden opportunity. They're impossible to in the water, after all. Thanks for telling me, boys. Sure thing. For the info, you can have 10% of her selling price. Agreed? Actually, we were hoping more like 20%. Oh? Questioned Peterman in a clearly agitated voice. No, 10% is plenty. Peterman smiled as he looked over to a pink bear costume. Present. Wait here a minute, Camie, said Pappag. Okay. Choose something yummy for me too, said Camie. However, she soon turned on the bench after a shadow appeared over her. What she saw was a pink bear standing awfully close to her. Before she could say anything, the bear's arms covered her mouth. She was lifted off the ground and taken. None of the group had seen what had happened, nor did they hear anything. Shortly after Camie was taken, Luffy resurfaced. "Oi, guys." "Ah, Luffy-san," said Brook. "Well, I didn't have any luck in trying to locate our mechanic. By the way, where's Camie?" "She's right on HHHHHH. Camie has been kidnapped," shouted Pappag. "What? Are you sure?" asked Luffy. "Yes. She would never go anywhere here by herself." Grove 24. We come across another celestial dragon striking fear into the hearts of people. "High Priest Urge. Look," came the voice of one of his crew. "Oh." This was in response to seeing a fat man, obviously a celestial dragon, riding on the back of a man struggling to support his weight. This poor man was also wearing the typical slave collar but also had a chain which was being held by the celestial dragon as a leash. There were also 2 more leashes connecting to 2 rather attractive women who were walking behind the man on foot. There was also a man who appeared to be a butler with them, as well as 3 knights who were meant to protect the fat man. A celestial dragon, huh? To think they'd swagger about the lawless area with no care. This is bad. Our only choice is to kneel and let him pass," said Urge as he and his crew bowed down. "Where on earth could Shalilia and father have gone, leaving me behind like this?" questioned the fat dragon. "We do know their final destination, so please rest easy," said the butler. The celestial dragon looked down and glared at his slave. He then started to stomp on the man's head. "Hey you! It's all because you walk like a turtle. You also sway too much and make for a horrible ride. You irritate me to no end." The man's arms started to buckle, but he stayed strong as the man continued to stomp on him. However, the celestial dragon noticed a group of people carrying a stretcher in his presence, no less. The audacity of these people. "Hey! Wait, you!" This caused the group of people to stop immediately in their tracks. "And why are you moving? You're humans!" shouted the dragon as he got off his slave and made his way through the people who were bowing on the ground until he reached the group. "I am sorry. Please overlook this. He's losing blood and needs urgent care," pleaded the man who was now seen to be a doctor as he pointed to the man on the stretcher. "It's a race against time. The hospital is just ahead." "Yes, this is very bad, indeed. In that case, you must be swift," he said as he raised his foot only to kick the man out of the stretcher. "And be out of your misery." "Please stop," pleaded the DR. "Oh no," said the female DR. "Talk about utterly selfish," said Urge as he, Bonnie, Hawkins, Capone, and Apu watched off to the side from various points. "Which is more important, courtesy towards me, or a commoner's life?" asked the dragon as he took a deep breath to get the snot back in his nose which had been dangling. "Commoners owe their existence to the celestial dragons," said the butler. That was when the dragon started to take in the appearance of the female doctor. What he saw was rather attractive to him. "Okay. I'm making you my wife. Then I shall arrange to send her to the Holy Land as your 13th wife," said the butler, completely ignoring the woman's shock. "Oh, and I'm tired of wives 1 through 5 now, so I'm sending them back to the commoners." "As you wish, sir." "Wait. Started the woman, only to be interrupted by a man running over to them. "Stop. Please. She's my fiancée." However, he was stopped dead in his tracks as the dragon had shot him. People couldn't believe what they just saw. "Stand up in front of me, will you?" Emery was all the man was able to say before he dropped to the ground as blood started to pour from his wound. "No! No! You murderer! How could you? Someone please help him," pleaded the woman as she was restrained by the butler from going to aid her fiancé. However, her cries for help were seemingly unheard as no one moved. "They're even more screwed up than the rumors say," said Urge. "What was that? Are you telling me off?" asked the dragon to the woman who now had her hands over her mouth. "Let go of me, please." "Take her on ahead to the harbor," said the dragon. "Yes, sir." This is the scene that Zoro happened upon as he drank from the bottle of sake in his hand. "Who's he?" asked someone as they watched him keep walking. Zoro looked around wondering why everyone was bowing. "Captain Apu. He's an East Blue pirate hunter," said one of Appa's crew. Why is he walking in the middle of the street? Doesn't he know anything? He's gonna cause trouble, were the concerns voiced by Fire Ink pirates. Zoro came to a stop when he reached the dragon, who was shocked that this commoner had the nerve to stand in front of him. What? You need directions or something? No one could believe what was just said. The dragon had had it, that was the final straw. He raised his gun and fired twice, only for Zoro to duck under one and dodge the second. Before anyone knew it, Zoro was less than 5 feet away from the dragon with a sinister grin on his face as well as his hand already drawing a sword. Whoa! Oh! What is doing? Shouted Appa. Zoro at this point had his sword Shusui 2 fully drawn. However, just before he could strike down this piece of shit, someone tackled him to the ground. As he looked at who it was, he realized it was a kid. Brother! Why did you have to die, brother? Were the cries of the young girl. Just stay still, guy, was whispered to Zoro. Brother! You stood up to a celestial dragon? Then it's only natural that you died, she shouted with her head in his chest. I hit him? I could have sworn he managed to dodge my shots, it must have been my imagination. Well, as long as he's dead. With that, the dragon got back on his slave and the group took their leave. Why'd you get in the way? Asked Zoro as he sat up and noticed that he had red liquid on his head. Huh! Don't gimme that, you idiot! What the hell were you thinking? Are you trying to attract an admiral to these islands? Asked the no longer child, but jewelry Bonnie. Tomato juice, said Zoro after tasting the liquid and ignoring the woman. If you're a pirate, you must know some of the unwritten pirate rules. Don't get us caught up in your trouble. Trouble? Who are huh? Wasn't there a kid here? Asked Zoro after wiping off the tomato juice from his face. Are you even listening to me? You alright in the head? Oh yeah, I'm not hurt. You idiot. I'm talking about on the inside. You're a dumbass. A genuine dumbass, shouted Bonnie, ignoring everyone staring at the two. We managed to avoid the worst case scenario thanks to Jewelry Bonnie. That man is Pirate Hunter Zoro, member of the Straw Hat Pirates, said one of Capone's crew. This made Capone's eyes go wide for a second before returning to normal. I heard their crew's crazy, but attacking a celestial dragon? That really is insane, said Capone. It's only natural he was saved. I don't see the shadow of death upon him at this time, stated Hawkins in a stoic voice. That bastard unleashed an absurd amount of bloodlust for a moment. He's a beast, stated a concerned Appa. Worth 180 million, yet only number 2 on his ship. He doesn't seem like to play second fiddle to anyone, but I guess that goes to the caliber of his captain, said Urge in a concerned tone as he watched Zoro sling the man that had been shot over his shoulder. Hey, where's the hospital? Hospital? Asked Bonnie. I gotta take him there. He's been shot. Huh. Forget about him. He's a total stranger. However, Zoro ignored her words and started off after someone told him the way. What the hell? A pirate that helps people? Ain't ever heard of that before. Then again, they aren't an ordinary crew either. Once Zoro dropped the man off, he felt it was time to head back to the ship. We are parked at Grove 1, which is, that way. Grove 41. We find Usopp, Sanji, and Frankie casually relaxing on the deck of the B. When I looked into town earlier, I saw some bubble bicycle things flying around, said Sanji. Yeah, I saw. They're so cool, said Usopp. It'd be nice to see how they ride, said Frankie. That was when their den mushy started ringing. Oh? Could that be Nami-san? Pura CHek. Hello, Nami SA-. Hello? It's me. Me, Chopper. Basically, we were getting food, but there were so many choices, so we got caught up. Chopper, let me talk to him. Sanji heard Luffy take the den from Chopper. What's going on? Sanji, grab the others. Just then the other two walked in, wondering what was going on. Luffy, they just walked in. What's going on? Camie's been kidnapped. What? A kidnapping team probably did it. We have to find her because apparently merfolk and fishmen sell for high prices here. If we don't hurry, she's gonna get sold. How did this ever happen? I was out looking for the mechanic and they struck when the others' backs were turned, those ING bastards. The problem is there are lots of human shops on these islands, so there's no telling when or where she'll be sold. We don't even know who took her. Well, listen up. Everyone but me and Hachi are gonna return to the ship. Hachi knows where an underground shop is, so me and him are gonna jump there. Once we find out anything, we will come and pick everyone up, got it? Hi. Okay, the only one unaccounted for is because he took off shortly after you all left, shouted Usopp, which caused Luffy to slap his face in frustration. Damn it. Don't worry, I'm sure we'll find him. Nami and Robin are currently over at Grove 30 shopping, so we'll grab them. Everyone that can need to meet up, and be ready for whatever happens. No what? Forget Dash. The line went dead. Oi, Luffy! This was heard outside on the deck of the ship. The three inside ran out to see Luffy holding onto a crying Chopper, Pale Brook, and Hachi, as well as Pappag. I hate it when he does that, said Chopper as he fell onto the deck, panting. What was that straw hat? That's an ability of my devil fruit. Anyway, the plan is the same. Hachi and I will go check Dash. Not without me, straw hat. I'm not gonna just sit here and wait, shouted Pappag. Sai, fine, the three of us will go and look for Camie. Hachi, if we get back to Sabaody Park, do you know where to go from there? Hi, I know the way. Stay near the Den Mushy. Let's go. And with that, Hachi, Luffy, and Pappag disappeared from the bee. Luffy, Pappag, Hachi. As soon as they arrived, the group took off to the location of the human shop. When they reached the grove, whispers immediately started. The crows started whispering among themselves. Hey, look at that. That's Straw Hat Luffy from East Blue. That's him, huh? We don't know if she's been sold yet. If only we knew who took her, at least, said Hachi. Hey, there's no need to be so depressed. We'll find Camie, said Luffy. Damn it. This is my fault. I knew that the amusement park is the best spot for slave traders and how much they'd want to capture a mermaid. It's my fault, it's because I let her go to the amusement park, said a crying Pappag. It was fine to bring her to the amusement park, wasn't it? Asked Luffy. No, it wasn't. Actually, mermen and fishmen shouldn't even be on this island in the first place. But Hachi just wanted to help you guys out no matter what. Pappag, don't say any more, shouted Hachi. What's he talking about? Why can't you guys be on this island? Well, you see, started Hachi. Camie and Hachi's enemies here aren't just the slave traders. Every single human living on this archipelago is an enemy. Being a different species has resulted in discrimination. Discrimination? Unless you take these islands for what they are, you'll only make a fool out of yourself. Which is why I should have stopped Camie, even if it meant being mean and strict. No, you did the right thing by letting her have some fun. This discrimination shouldn't even exist. So don't you for 1 second feel bad, Pappag. We will get Camie back. I promise you that, said Luffy with a smile that seemed to take up half his face. For some reason, Pappag believed him and was grateful to have been able to meet this group of pirates. I'm sorry, Straw Hat, I wanted to help you out, but I caused you trouble instead. What are you talking about? There isn't one thing you guys should be sorry for. Hachi, you seem to have genuinely changed since we last met. So, I consider all three of you my friends now. We will rescue Camie, no matter what. So, stop crying. Hi. With that, the group reached the slave shop. Who's in charge here? Was all that Luffy asked? A man in a pink beanie with a goatee came forward. Yes, sir, what can I do for you? He said as he rubbed his hands together. Luffy closed the door and locked it, before making his way over to the man. I do not have a lot of time, so I'm going to give you 2 options, okay? Asked Luffy as he had a very dark grin on his face. We can do this the easy way, or we can do this the real easy way. Personally, I'm not a big fan of the real easy way, but my friend was taken and I will do whatever it takes to get her back, understand? The man was practically pissing himself. He nodded eagerly. What would you like to know? Ah, good choice. Let's talk about mermaids. Nami and Robin. Nami and Robin had finished up shopping, and now Robin was explaining history to Nami. 200 years ago? Asked Nami. Yes. Until just 200 years ago, that dark history was reality. Fishmen and mermen were considered normal fish, and were discriminated by humans all over the world. Everyone looked down upon them. Those strong fishmen? Asked Nami as she remembered Arlong and his crew. Even the strongest creatures are powerless when outnumbered. This continued until the world government decided to lend a helping hand to Fishman Island 200 years ago. That's just another piece of the rather dark history of the human race. On this archipelago, slave trading and selling of human lives is still acceptable. So I think maybe the discrimination of mermen and fishmen is still common here too. Then, could that be the reason why Hachi and Camie had to disguise themselves on this island? I hope I'm just reading too much into things though. Oh look! A den mushi. Let's call the ship and see if they need anything, shouted Nami, trying to get off the dark subject. Pura chek. Oi, Sanji-kun. Oh, Nami-swan. Thank goodness you're alright. Why wouldn't we be alright? Did something happen? Sanji then informed her of everything that had taken place. Nami-swan, you and Robin-swan need to head back here as quickly as possible. Hi. We're on our way now. We will be there in no time. And with that she hung up and the duo took off to the ship. The B. Sure enough, in very little time Robin and Nami made it back to the ship. Everyone was wondering where Luffy was as well as Zoro. However, Luffy appeared on deck moments later. Alright. She was taken to the auction house in Grove 1. How do you know that? Asked Usopp. The man that took her dropped her off and left. Well, when he dropped her off, one of the guards got on the den mushi and started calling all the other auction halls as well as shops. He went on bragging about how they have a mermaid in order to try and get more people to come to their shop and spend more money, shouted Hachi. Those bastards, shouted Sanji. Has anyone heard from Zoro? Asked Luffy, concern could be heard in his voice. No one has heard from him since he left, said Frankie. Damn it. I guess we're gonna have to do this without him. Let's go. With that, everyone grabbed onto Luffy, who took them to the last place they had been, the human shop. This was located in Grove 8, so once they got their bearings, which didn't take long, they took off. Grove 1 auction house. There were lots of people making their way inside today, more than usual. You sure were smart telling everyone to come here, laughed one of the guards. I know, right? Now there will be so much money spent here, we'll get paid extra. The other guard laughed before realizing everyone started bowing. As he looked out, he immediately recognized Saint Shalilia and her father. With them was a rather giant of a man being walked by the older celestial dragon as well as some knights. The guard immediately ran out and bowed to greet them. What a pleasant surprise! Saint Roswald! Saint Shalalia! Welcome! I humbly ask that kneeling and such be unnecessary inside the building. That will be fine. That would make for poor auctions otherwise, replied Saint Roswald. Thank you very much. Please use the VIP seats. With the guard took back off to his position, allowing the dragons to continue on their way. Brother Charlos is certainly taking a long time, spoke Shalalia. That's what he get for riding a sluggish human. If you're going to ride something, make it a fishman. They have 10 times the strength of humans, spoke Saint Roswald as the doors to auction house were opened for them. They paid no attention to the kid pirates as they passed by them. Celestial dragons, slaves, human shops, ha! Kid started. That's Captain Kid from South Blue, spoke people. Compared to the callousness of greedy authoritative figures, the criminals of the world have much more humanity. It's because scum rules the world that new scum is born. Don't they understand? We're as endearing as we are mean. Right, Killer? He asked the man who was standing next to him in the group. No doubt, was Killer's short response. If there's someone interesting, should we buy him? Ha! Boss. Look, said one of his crew who had long straight light blue hair. He pointed to a man sitting a few aisles down. Oh, I recognize him, said Kid. Trafalgar Law, from North Blue. Worth 200 million. I've heard pretty bad rumors about him. At this point, Law looked up directly at Kid and flipped him off, before turning back around. He's got a bad attitude too, said Kid. Over in another section of the building, the auctioneer was preparing to go out. "Disco-san, we have an incredible item today!" shouted a guard as he ran into the man getting ready. Disco is a thin, eccentric man who had long silver hair, a cleft chin, stubble beard and mustache. He wears a purple coat, pink scarf, a tall yellow hat with flower patterns around the bottom, and his trademark star-shaped glasses. Point 1. Today's big entry is a giant, right? I already know. You can count on me. I'll make sure it sells for a high price. Are the bidders ready to go? No, not that. I thought you had already heard. It's a mermaid. A young mermaid. It's going to be one heated auction, shouted the guard as he waved his arms up and down in excitement. Seriously? In the back we find a couple of guards getting Camie ready to be auctioned off as they carried her off, only to have to stop in front of a cell containing quite a few captives. Let me go! You're hurting me. Let go, I said. Stop. Hey, quit thrashing around. We need to figure out your collar size. Her struggling stopped for a moment as she heard the dragging of chains. She looked over and to her horror a guard was walking towards her with a neck collar in hand. No! Hachi! Luffy-chin! Why you? You'd best behave unless you want to get hurt. Oh, hold it. Don't be roughhousing our important merchandise, said Disco as he arrived on the scene, wanting to see the mermaid for himself. Disco-san. Oh, is this the mermaid came in? Yes, sir. Disco knelt down next to Camie before he grabbed her face with force and started turn it to inspect her features. How truly rare. Lively and strong. This should fetch a high price. Who submitted it? The Hound Pets. Peterman, huh? He does damn good work. And yet the Flying Fish Riders haven't submitted anything this time. I wonder why that is. Well, in any case, there's no question this'll sell for a lot, said Disco with a very smug grin. Bleh. Camie responded by sticking out her tongue. This proved to be a mistake as Disco slapped her across her face, sending her to the ground. What was that look for? Damn you. You're just a lousy fish. Don't get any wrong ideas, shouted an enraged Disco as he almost stomped on Camie, but was thankfully stopped by a guard. Stop, Disco-san. That's important merchandise. It'll lose its value if you hurt it. At least kick it in the stomach or somewhere that's covered by clothes. My friends are going to beat you up so bad, shouted Camie, trying to be brave. Why you? Still talking back, huh? Gimme that collar. Why yes, sir. I'll put the collar on it myself. Hold still now. Camie tried to struggle in the grip of the guards that picked her up, but it was no use. However, just before Disco could clamp the collar shut, an unseen force knocked him out cold. Disco-san? Hey! What happened, Disco-san? The auction's just about to start too, shouted the guards as they dropped Camie to assist their boss. Doctor! Get a doctor! In the cell a giant could easily be seen. Old man, don't play innocent. That Hockey 3 energy just now was you, wasn't it? Just who are you? Asked the giant in a low tone to a pair of legs, apparently because the rest of the man was hidden in the shadows. I'm a simple old man who coats ships. I just have a real penchant for young girls, you see, came a voice that once the lighting changed. The giant immediately recognized the man. You're the former vice captain of the Roger Pirates. Silvers Rayleigh, the Pirate King's right-hand man, he said in shock as he took in the appearance of this man. Two of Rayleigh's most distinguishing traits are his round glasses and facial hair, which is arranged and battled across his lower jaw. He also has a scar over his right eye. The Dark King chooses to dress quite simply, usually just in a nearly plain t-shirt, shorts, and sandals. He also had on a large silver hooded cloak, though the hood currently down. 1. Navy HQ. We find Vice Admiral Monkey D. Garp casually having lunch in front of a sweating subordinate. Dark King Silvers Rayleigh, huh? Apparently, no one around him recognizes him, so he's being sold as a regular old man. Bwahaha, the Dark King, being sold as a human auction. Bwahaha. It is hard to believe something like this would happen to the real one. My men aren't 100% it's really him. Either what should we do, Vice Admiral? Shall we report this to Fleet Admiral Sengoku? No, I'll handle this myself. Don't tell anyone about it, now. Not even Sengoku. Give your men a convenient story. But what if it really is him? It's him, all right. I'm sure of it, said Garp with a huge smile. Eh? I hear reports of him being seen on occasion. If I had to guess, I'd say he probably lost while gambling and sold himself off. He may be an old soldier, but if we take Rayleigh on foolishly, our forces will lose an unthinkable number of men. Now is an especially bad time. Are you suggesting the Navy take on two legends, at once? Said Garp in a rather ominous tone. Auction House Grove 1. While Disco was carried off to the doctor, a guard came up behind Camie and placed a collar on her neck. She was then carried off and placed in a rather large glass ball of water, basically a fish tank. After recovering from Rayleigh's hockey, Disco made his way to center stage to get the auction started. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. Grove No. 1's monthly Great Human Auction is about to begin. And your MC, of course, is this man, shouted a guard as flashing lights turned on and went around the stage. The spotlights turned on and pointed down onto the stage as Disco walked out with a gavel. Sometimes known as the walking super bizarre Mr. Disco. The audience erupted in cheers at the introduction. Hello, everyone. I have some great quality slaves again for you today. You're lucky we even have a super great showcase item for sale today. I pray from the bottom of my heart that you'll get to take home the slaves of your choice. What are you planning to purchase today? Asked an old man to a woman he was sitting next to in the audience. The last human slave I bought didn't even last 10 days before it broke down. So I'm hoping to procure a young and durable male giant today, said the woman with glee. I'm considering buying 2 or 3 young girls for eye candy, said the old man in a happy tone. Oh, you certainly do love those. I can't wait to see what cuties they'll have today. Ha hee hee. Oh, you. Well then, let's get this auction started, shouted Disco from behind his podium off to the side. Entry number 1. From Troa in West Blue. A proud pirate from a long line of musicians and versatile with musical instruments. Give him an instrument, and he'll play any background music you request. He's a human music box. He's also a great cleaner. Give him a mop, and he won't miss a single speck of dust. In addition, he's skilled at making wine. A hard-working 25-year-old male human. 192 centimeters and 130 kilograms, goes by the name of Brian, shouted Disco as the guards brought forth a man. He had long blonde, unkempt hair and long and big eyebrows. He had a small beard and a scar on his face which goes down from the forehead to his eye. He was wearing a dark coat and a red vest with a white scarf-like garment under it. He also has on an orange strip over his brown pants. One bidding will start at the special off price of 480,000 belly. Okay. Raise your bidding paddles and name your price. Well, 480,000 is a steal, said a rather fat man as he raised his paddle with the number 7 on it. Number 7 bids 480,000. Any other bidders? Any other bidders? 500,000, said a man with paddle number 82. Number 82 has just bid 500,000 belly. 520,000. Yes. Number 105 bids 520,000 belly. The first bidder was now beginning to panic, so he made a desperate bid. 600,000. After a few moments, Disco called an end for the first slave by tapping his gavel twice. Sold for 600,000 belly. The winner smiled to himself, thinking he had gotten a great deal. However, that was not the case. Using buy bidders to enliven the place and raise prices to their limits, this is the pro technique and skill of Mr. Disco-sama, the walking super bazaar, thought Disco with a sinister grin on his face that no one seemed to notice. Okay. There are many more great deals to come. Be sure not to miss your chance, ladies and gentlemen. Now then, let's move on to the next item. Straw hats. They had taken off for the auction house as soon as they could and were now at Grove 4, where they came across Zoro. By the look of the bodies around him, he must have gotten into some trouble. Oh, Zoro! Eh? What are all of you doing here? Come on! Camie's been kidnapped. Zoro was with the group in no time as they finally made their way to Grove 1. Listen, Straw Hat. What you all are about to see will make you sick. However, We cannot cause a disturbance here. Understand? There are celestial dragons inside, and if Camie is being held here, then she must have a collar on by now," said Hachi as the group arrived outside the auction house. "Shit!" said Luffy as he ground his teeth in frustration. "Oh, who's this guy?" asked Frankie as they looked at the large man that was the slave of St. Roswald. "This place," stated Sanji in disgust as he placed a cigarette in his mouth and lit it. "A place like this has no business being in this world. I can't believe the government quietly allows this," said Nami. "How could this be allowed to go on? It's horrible," stated Chopper. "We have to get in there so we can buy Camie." "Let's go," said Luffy as they walked in. As soon as they walked in, Luffy locked eyes with Kid and glared at him. He didn't like the feeling that he gave off. The Kid pirates were surprised to see the straw hats. "Boss, isn't that the straw hats?" "Oh yeah? That's most definitely them," said Kid as Luffy finally broke away from his glare. He felt something off as he watched the group go over and stand against the railing in the back of the building. He continued to look at Luffy, who now was leaning against the rail as his arms rested on it with his hands hanging over the side. Yeah, he's definitely different from the rest. To have not one, not two, not even three, but 4 people on your crew with bounties over 100 million foot, that bastard just seems crazy. "Now then. Next up is entry number 14. Shouted Disco from up on the stage as he pointed to a woman in typical black and white maid attire. "This item is a female human. Aside from housekeeping, she's also an expert in games, ranging from cards to chess. She'll be great to have when you want to pass the time. Let's start the bidding at 600,000. "Oh, this could be an excellent bargain," said a woman. "Drat. I used up my entire budget on the female human I just bid on. This one is clearly much better too," complained a man. "That's a shame. But I do believe I'll bid on this one," said a man sitting next to him. The Straw Hats could only look on in disgust as they watched people place bids on the poor woman as if she was a piece of meat. 700,000. 900,000. 1,200,000. 1,500,000. 2 million. "These bastards," said Zoro as he clenched his teeth, wanting nothing more than to end this atrocity. 3 million. Number 51 has bid 3 million. Are there any other bids? Any other bids? Sold to number 51 for 3 million belly. Everyone watched as the woman was led away like a dog. "Is Camie going to wind up like this too?" asked a terrified Pappag. "We will get her back. Just you wait." "Nami, how much money do we have saved up?" asked Luffy, who was trying his best to keep his word to Hachi. "We have quite a lot of treasure on our ship right now. Altogether, I think it's worth at least 200 million. What's the market price for mermaids?" "That should be more than enough, but I can't pay you back," shouted Hachi. "What are you talking about, Hachi? Are you Camie's guardian or something? It's not like that. If it's to get our friend back, then I don't care how much it costs. You guys okay with that, right?" asked Luffy, who was still looking at the stage. "Of course we are. This isn't about money," said Chopper in his humanish form. "Guys, thank you. I'll never forget this for the of my life," said Pappag with tears streaming down his face. "Okay. Things are really picking up here at the Great Human Auction. Next up is another highly recommended item. Entry number 15 is an unbelievable beautiful female slave. Just look at these miraculous proportions. This is Pashia, a 20-year-old dancer," shouted Disco as he directed everyone's attention to the woman slightly behind him. She is a young, tall woman with long blue hair and black eyes. She wears a long white dress with some pink details on it, and a yellow headpiece with a red gem piece at the front point. When the poor woman had tears streaming down her face. The sight of Pahia, one of our showcase items today, is guaranteed to beguile and lead you to heaven. 800,000. Already, the bidding for the beautiful dancer Pashia is at 800,000. 1 million. 1,500,000. 3 million. Bidding has jumped straight to 3 million belly. Are there any other bids? "What the hell? What do all these people take ladies for?" said an enraged Sanji. "Such a beautiful woman, it truly is disgusting," said Brook. "We will save her. I refuse to let Camie get sold to the likes of them, said Pappag with determination. 5 million. 6,400,000. 7,200,000. Already the beautiful Pashia's price has risen to 7.2 million. That's when the doors at the main entrance opened, and in walked the celestial dragon that attempted to kill Zoro. I'm finally here. Okay. Now things are starting to get fired up. What do you say to this next piece of merchandise? What a relief! It's still going on, said the rather happy dragon. However, I heard him say entry number 15 just now, so I believe it's almost over, whispered his butler. It's a celestial dragon, whispered Chopper. Another world noble is here, said Nami. Defy them and a navy admiral will come running, said Sanji. Zoro just looked at the piece of shit with rage. I want a mermaid. I hope they have one this time, said the noble as he picked his nose with his pinky. This immediately caused the Straw Hats to tense, having heard what the man said. Merfolk are apparently a rather hard species to catch, so I'm unsure if one will be up for auction this time or not, said his butler. Just then one of the guards/staff of the auction house came running up to the noble before stopping and bowing. What a pleasant surprise, St. Charles. Take me to my seat already, said the now identified Charles. Yes, right away. Please follow me, stated the staff as he led the man down to the front aisles. Please watch your step. The whole time, people turned away and did not dare to look at him except of course the pirates. Within a few moments they reached the VIP section. Brother Charlos is finally here, said Shalulia as he sat next to her and their father. Up on stage they were having issues with the next slave. Hey! Get walking! Shouted one of the staff as he pulled on his leash. Okay. It looks like we're ready to continue. Entry number 16 is none other the captain of a pirate ship. A captain? Feast your eyes on this man, with a bounty of 17 million belly. Goes by the name of Lacuba. Lacuba is a tall man with a brown coat and hat. He has long black hair and a beard, and has his crew's Jolly Roger tattooed on his chest. He also has on a blue sash around his waist. Over his gray pants point one, he's known as a tactful strategist, but his well-trained body is another great attribute. You can use him as a horse, for heavy physical labor, or as a punching bag. He has many uses, indeed. Now then. However, what happened next truly frightened people. Lacuba swayed before dropping down to his knees as blood started to flow out of his mouth before collapsing face first onto the stage. Bastard! Don't tell me you just dash, said Disco to himself. He collapsed. What happened? I saw blood. Shut the curtains, whispered Disco to some of the staff, to which they did. What happened? Oh, you saw that, right? Asked Zoro. Yeah, he bit his tongue off. He decided he'd rather hear than live a wretched life as someone's pet. In some cases, that could be the smart choice, said Sanji. Where's the mermaid already? Asked Frankie. Camie must be scared, said Chopper. Just hang on a little longer. We're right here, Camie, said Luffy as he clenched his fists together. Thank you so much, guys, said Pappag. Things behind the stage curtain were not going so good for auctioning off Lacuba. It's no good, said a staff member as he checked on Lacuba. Damn. I'm not gonna make any money off you now, you idoiat, said an angry Disco. Disco-san. A doctor's on the way. Geez. Do you know how much it's gonna cost to treat you now? The mermaid's next, right? Yes. Everything's all set. It can go on at any time. Good. This super big event item should blast away the chilly mood in the air. Bring her out now, men. Right. As the staff wheeled out Camie in the glass ball filled with water behind the curtain still. Number 16, Pirate Lacuba, was extremely nervous and collapsed after a nosebleed, so his introduction will have to wait for another day, said Disco as he appeared back in front of the curtain. This explanation seemed to cause the audience to calm down. But, ladies and gentlemen, the next item I have for you is a super incredible piece of merchandise sure to instantly blow all this trouble away. A highly sought after item, to be sure. Then the drum roll started, signifying the moment. As soon as it ended, the curtains rose, revealing Camie to the audience. Could it be? Yes. An incredible item. I won't say much. Look upon it with your own eyes. Take a good look, shouted Disco as the audience erupted in cheers. All the way from Fishman Island, the mermaid Camie. It's real. A young mermaid. Amazing. What a find. Meanwhile, Camie was looking around in worry trying to find her friends. After a few moments she gave a slight sigh in relief when she spotted them. It's Hachi and the others. They came to rescue me. Finally, said Luffy. Camie, shouted Hachi and Pappag. Alright. We're gonna get her back. We have 200 million belly, said Nami. Hooray! A mermaid! They're selling a mermaid, shouted a wide-eyed Charlos. I see that there's immense interest in this, our first mermaid in a while. Now then, how much shall we start from? Said Disco. Let's make the first move to win, shouted Nami. Alright then. Let's begin. Bidding will start at. However, Disco never got to finish his sentence. 500 million. I'll buy it for 500 million belly, shouted Charlos, much to the shock of everyone in the building. 500 million? It's no good. We can't compete with him. What the hell? How could this happen so suddenly? We don't even have close to that much, said Nami in clear shock. Well, time for plan B then, said Luffy as he simply vanished. Shit! Here we go, said Sanj. What another waste of money. You have piranhas in your aquarium, you know, said Roswell in a somewhat scolding tone. I'm going to have them chase her for fun. Merfolk are the fastest swimmers in the world. However, all talking came to an immediate stop when Luffy appeared in front of Camie with his back to the audience. That's Straw Hat Luffy. Straw Hat Luffy. No way. Luffy meanwhile was examining the ball that contained Camie, completely ignoring everyone. Camie, just hang on, we're gonna save you, he said with a smile on his face. Hachi had seen Luffy appear on stage and took off to catch him before he could do anything brash. However, when he took off, he accidentally opened his coat, revealing to the world his status as a fishman. Once people realized what he was, things went from bad to worse. Ah! His arms! His arms! He's a fishman! Hachi stopped in tracks, only realizing too late that he had made a mistake. What's a fishman doing here? It's an octopus monster. What is a fishman doing on land? Yuck, stay away. Your very existence is scary. What the hell is going on? Asked Sanji as he was ready for whatever happened. They discriminate against fishmen and merfolk here, informed Nami. Bang. Anything else that was going to be said was halted by Charles's gun. Luffy looked back to see Hachi tumble down the aisle with blood coming out of his chest. Camie started panicking, having just witnessed Hachi getting shot. Luffy appeared by his side in an instant. I shot it. I took down a fishman, shouted Charlos as he danced with joy. Hachi grabbed onto Luffy. Straw Hat, don't be mad, I'm the one who screwed up. You promised not to defy the celestial dragons, even if you saw someone get shot. I was a pirate at one time. This is what I deserve for doing those horrible things. I'm sorry, I didn't mean for it to be like this. I just wanted to make amends with Nami, even if it wasn't much, so I wanted to be helpful to you guys, but I guess I've always been a screw-up no matter what I do, said Hachi in between gasps for breath. Hachi, I'm sorry. I have to break my promise to you, Luffy said with a smile on his face as he placed Hachi's hands on his chest before disappearing. You lousy fish. Still, St. Charlos never finished as Luffy appeared right in front of him in the middle of a roundhouse kick. All that could go through the minds of everyone there were two words. Oh shit! With that, Luffy's foot connected with Charles's face, causing a sickening snap that sent him sailing into a wall. Thanks for watching this video. You really enjoy this video? Like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification. Don't forget to support and follow JazzyJ09 for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story, link in the description. See you in the next video. Goodbye.